on to what we love. Risk the fall, or we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of the world that we defy. A solo ride of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last
Smack dab in the middle of Super Week, we are excited for day number 2 here of the LTA South. Of course, we will be here for the first 2 games. My name is Orbital, with me is TDS, and we are going to be having a lot of fun today. We have an amazing lineup here today with a lot of teams that are starting to show their fangs and some maybe losing their fierceness. TDS, we got our first matchup between Pain Gaming and Leviathan, 2 teams that are coming off of pretty good wins from day number 1.
Yeah, exactly. They started off this week as strong as they can, and obviously this being a super week, you want to start on the right foot. You know that now the wins are going to matter most. You know that each win will determine a better position for you, and you want to try and leave everything in a better spot for you. That's why coming into this day 2 now, if you already started badly, nothing to do. You have to shake everything off and try and start much better coming in. But there's going to be some tough matchups for some of these teams, and there's going to be much easier ones from some others, so it's going to be important seeing how the seeding shakes up.
Yeah, and let's start with Pain Gaming, who has so far looked very, very good starting out here. They went ahead and took down Fluxu back yesterday in a convincing victory with one of my favorite champions, by the way, with the Xerath. You can go ahead and see where the standings shake out. We got 3 teams in the top 4 here, 4-1 for VKS as well as Pain Gaming, and then Furia leading that charge. And then in the middle of the pack, sitting at a pretty comfortable 4th, is Leviathan, who we'll see today, and then of course Loud and Red Cannon sitting there at 2 and 3. Unfortunately, at the bottom at 7th and 8th, we got Fluxu, W7M, and then Isuras Estral sitting at 0 and 5. IE just not having a good time.
Yeah, Isurus, it's been sad to watch, not gonna lie. Like, I've been Latin American, I've been putting a lot of, like, pressure or support towards Isurus, and the fact that they've not been able to come through has been really disappointed. Had to go through some roster changes already, changing out the top lane like we saw yesterday, and it hasn't panned out just yet. I do think that they are just a few steps closer to being back to the team that essentially won that initial tournament, but it's going to be maybe some more growing pains before that shows up. The important part, though, is the teams that are on the upper side, right? Like the 3 teams with 4 and 1, 1 team 3 and 2. That means that it's closer than most people would expect between the top 4, and it can really fluctuate depending on some of the results of the matches that we have today, especially because we will have a direct confrontation with the top teams today with Fury and BKS, and then Pain and Leviathan as well, because if Leviathan does win, right, that puts them immediately in the 4-win bracket, and that already brings Pain down to the 4-2. Like, we're going to have more contention if Leviathan wins against Pain today.
Of course, and then right there in the middle, Game 3 will be one. That's just kind of like a toss-up. Red Cannon's going up against IE there, but you mentioned Loud as well at game number 2, which we'll see just a little bit later. And then the very end, as you called, 4-1. And again, there'll be even more matches tomorrow just as well, which we'll dive into that probably later on here on the day. So there are your matches, all 4 laid out in front of you. Keep in mind, we'll be here for the first 2, and then I believe it'll be FourY4 as well as RMC on the second set of matches. But I know a lot of people are very excited for that final match of the day. It's going to be a very, very fun test. But let's dive into the one that we are watching here today. The third 4-1 team, Pain Gaming, coming in here, took a victory off of Fluxu W7M, and it was not exactly surprising, but utilizing interesting pickups here. The Xerath coming out, haven't seen it before, and did very well for itself, allowing Karaoke to have this massive Vi game, 7-0 and 6 on there.
Well, the beauty of that setup comes from the fact that it's a point-and-click ultimate into just super long-range ultimate. So even if you're in the safety of your jungle, if the Vi engages, the Serath can follow up from a super long range. And remember those changes that they did when the more ultimates you hit, the more damage you end up stacking up. It's going to be much better to try and lock down and kill single-target champions. But I really like the fact that they are trying to experiment like that with some of these combinations because, and we were talking a little bit about this before like everything started, right? The lack of, or not lack of, but the lack of power that the Vi has shown so far in LTA South. So it feels like Vi compared to other regions, or maybe a little bit more general, like Vi hasn't really found her footing yet to the champion that she was a little bit before. She still has her point and click ultimate, she still has her jungle clear potential as well as the gang potential that she previously had. But I feel like teams have been becoming better and better at trying to just juggle around her playstyle and having more pairings for her to really find the avenues to just control the game have been more ideal. That's why this Serath pick ends up coming in really huge, because it's just an easier way to set her up, and it also sets up the rest of the team because you really don't need to be present to find value with the Serath. It's still a low mobility mage, and that brings risk with that, but the general idea of trying to find more value with more pairings for some of these players, I like the fact that they are trying to experiment like this.
Yeah, it's a much needed moment as well, is
Yeah.
what I would like to say. It always takes a moment where you're just like, you need to be able to experiment in there. I mean, huge shout out to Weiser as well, Teton and Curry. I believe everyone was kind of stepping up in that moment and being able to help out the rest of the team. I mean, the Rumble was very impactful just as well. But for Pain, it's going to be a very fun time to see how they pan out here because they want to keep their top standing. For Leviathan, as we mentioned before, this kind of... LATAM team just sitting here going, okay, you know what, we're going up against another squad, but my gosh, did they look good yesterday. I mean, maybe VKS kind of looked a little bit rougher around the edges, but man, did Leviathan step up. I mean, Cody specifically, solo kill in the mid lane, stepping into that facade that we had talked about, this all-around aggressive carry in the mid lane.
Yeah, and I think bringing the point of focus towards Cody is the right thing to do, because so far, to me, Cody has been the stand-up player for Leviathan. He has been consistently really good. He has been able to go toe-to-toe against most of the mid laners in the league, and he almost always has a pick that he can really try and play around with. Even on their first initial games where maybe it was a little bit rougher for Leviathan, I would say that he was the standout player consistently, and he's a player that you always have to look out for. And importantly, in a league that has some mid laners that really can make a difference, having your own difference mid maker in the mid lane like Cody is going to be really crucial. Like you're pointing out, bringing out those carries like the Akali or the assassins like the Akali is going to be really ideal in most situations. And he also has really other good picks like the Yoni on this, or even Azir occasionally, but I like the Yoni a little bit more. Really brings forth the value of the team a little bit higher. And then even if you're lacking maybe a more powerful AD threat, that's still going to be fine if you're able to have the soul lanes, particularly the mid lane carry, to really push you up a little bit more.
Yeah, it's such a nice little piece, and something that we do hope to see is, of course, the draft itself. We talked about the teams. Let's go ahead and dive on in. As you mentioned, the Yone coming out here, most likely going to Roamer there in the mid lane, but questions are abound here about what else will be coming out for Leviathan. That hover of the Yuumi, though, terrifies me, but this makes a lot more sense so far. Scary has really enjoyed playing that Sejuani, has played it 3 out of the 5 times that they've been on stage so far, and utilizing that Sejuani to set up the rest of the team has been monumental in some of their victories.
Yeah, it does mean that you will probably go for something that is a melee champion, be it in the mid lane or in the top lane, because you do want to have that synergy with the Sejuani. The Yone was a prime ideal target for that, to follow up with the Sejuani, but it looks like the Rumble is going to be priority pick here going into the top lane. We've seen its power, it goes pretty much consistently well with a lot of the compositions. Now the Gwen was left open, and with a lot of players enjoy playing that Gwen. They've shown so much value coming in from that champion, and surprised that Leviathan let it go that easily without trying to look into the Gwen a little bit more. So they must have a plan, or at the very least a way to try and counter the Gwen as effectively as possible.
Well, I mean, it's also just, I feel like a huge kind of a point of pride for Pain Gaming. I mean, this almost feels like they're taking that challenge to Leviathan right now. You say, hey, we saw how well you did before. We saw how well Cody did. We saw how well Zotvi did earlier. Well, you better fight for it now. We got 2 strong carries in our solo lanes in
Yeah.
Roamer and Weiser, and both these players know how to play as well. We talked about the fact that Roamer can play just about everything, going from the Corki, the Silas, and all, has played the Yone as well. But you are almost directly challenging Cody in that mid lane, so I love that call down. Now you go ahead and round it out. Kirio going back to another team fight oriented, engaged champion with that Skarner. First time, I believe, here in the season, but you know it's going to match well.
Yeah, exactly. The Skarner has been such a priority pick so far that it's unsurprising to see it coming through. Has a lot of setup, especially Teamfight Ultimate setup with Yone particularly as well. Can be really effective, and it's not surprised that it gets focused or locked in here for the side of Pain Gaming. As for the remaining champion for Leviathan in the first phase, it's going to be that Corki. We need to remember that this always can be flexed around, so this could go into the bot lane for CO. But for Cody to take the Corki here, I'm not fully against it. I just think that maybe there's going to be a lack of synergy with that Sejuani just based off the passive, the lack of passive value coming into the mid lane. But having a hyper carry like the Corki is always going to be fine, especially in the mid lane, and then you can add a little bit more into the bot lane. As we see the remaining bans here, the Ashe going to be taken away. I'm expecting maybe a little bit more focus towards the bot lane since there's no more 80 carries picked here. Ezreal, Misfortune, Varus look to be the primary bans to really come through here, although the Varus was already banned away. And now it's remaining to see what the support options are also going to be. Maybe something like a Rakan actually could end up coming through.
Yeah, we've seen the likes of the Rakan as well as the Leonas. We saw the Leona even hovered for a moment, but a lot of those hyper carries have been taken away. We see the Misfortune actually utilized very heavily by, I believe, Pain Gaming specifically. I think Teton was using that a lot recently, played it 3 times so far. The Jhin, yeah, just take out all these ADCs. I think the next one would be almost an Ezreal. If you're wanting to kind of keep that safety value away, if I'm looking down the line, I would not want to see an Ezreal come out on either end. It just provides way more mobility. It's way too much safety, especially when you're going for the catch rates that, a Skarner and Sejuani want.
Yeah.
Having the Arcane shift would be so annoying to have to deal with. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the Nico. Okay. So saying, hey, we really don't want Pro Delta to be running that Nico once again and denying a lot of our engages.
Yeah, and it looks like the Kai'Sa is going to end up being the pick here. So there is a little bit of repositioning going to be at play here for the Skarner Ultimate and some of the other abilities. But I agree with you. I really was fine with the Ezreal being one of the picks if they end up going for it. The only thing is that maybe they think there was way too much magical damage, although Kai'Sa feels like one of the champions that deals a lot of magical damage right now, so kind of a weird decision there. But having that poke value with the Corki and with the Rumble, I think would have been completely fine in this situation.
Ooh.
Although Kai'Sa can also go into that, and Rakan Saya, so there is a really strong combo already set up for the side of Pain. Pretty straightforward as well. You have Skarner, Rakan, and Yone Ultimate all in, and then a pretty safe 80 carry in the form of the Saya. Titan will have pretty, I don't want to say easy, but like his job this game, as long as he doesn't get caught up completely out of position, just by pressing R, he already sets up the team for success. So for Pain, I think pretty straightforward composition, like the easy to execute idea, and for Leviathan, it's a lot of mid-game power. They need to execute a lot on that one item power spike, because the Rumble, the Kai'Sa, even the Corki, at one item, that's where I'll see them being the strongest. And then the longer the game goes, I can see Pain just becoming much more effective in general.
Yeah, that would be actually... I hate to say it, but Pain, I feel like, came out with a lot that they wanted here. You come out with some very heavy hitters in the laning phase. You shut down how Leviathan was doing so well previously, and you just deny. And that is something that we hope to see here for Pain Gaming to maintain their top spot. Even though we're here just in the placement phase of this split 2, they still want to have their good showing. They still want to prove that they are at the top of the tables and shut down any possible challengers to that throne, and Leviathan is absolutely one of them, coming off of a hot victory against VKS. They want to show their stuff here. They are going to take the challenge forward with that Corki, with that Rumble as well, and let's see if they can do it here in the opening match here on day number 2 of Super Week.
And it's just going to be an exciting match in general. And like you're pointing out, 4-1 against 3-2. Maybe we see a 4-2 team. Well, actually, if Violin win, both of these teams turned 4-2. So
yeah,
makes that race more interesting, funnily enough. But if not, for Pain, a big win here if they end up winning, because now they would be 5-1. And knowing that one of the other 4-1 teams will play against each other means that they are just essentially one step away from being just number 1 seed.
Yeah, it's so close, and honestly, that's what makes it fun. And I wish, you know, I wish we did see some of that threat coming in here, but granted, even getting placed into another group, same side as some of these opponents, it is very scary. So I do appreciate the fact that they are taking this at grand course, at this
You
moment of aggression. We go ahead and load onto the rift here as we go ahead and take a look at these two teams that are hopefully giving us a what for. Mainly my eyes drawn to Romer and Cody in that mid lane. I believe it's going to be a Yone going up against the Corki, a lane matchup
Yep.
that we've seen before, but both players hoping to get an accelerated early game and to get that damage down come those mid game fights where we see the Sejuani active, where we see the Skarner ready to duke it out just as well.
But we already see a lot of people already around the mid lane. There is a stirring competition going around because nothing much ends up happening here, maybe just a little bit of vision. But in general, just trying to lay down the vision advantage for both of these teams, trying to get a little bit more information on what the Skarner will start. Actually, maybe trying to go for an steal here. That's a good vision bot. And that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a big difference, by the way, in the bot lane. Titan, really a fan favorite.
Which makes sense. I mean, if you
Yeah.
take a look at, and also it's just, you know, anyone knows Teton, right? And Cio, we were mentioning it before, has one of the lowest kill participations in of the LTA South, I believe.
Yeah.
And RMC, I think, said it best. It's not exactly Cio's fault that they haven't been so proactive. It's been the rest of the team maybe drawing battles elsewhere. So maybe not a lot of comfortability left into them, but when you see a Kaisa, in my opinion, you are going to be in the fight whether you like it or not. And if not, you're not playing
and you
the
have
Kaisa,
to,
right?
exactly. Like it's either you're going to be in it or you don't pick Kaisa because you're taking away value from the champ. And I think it's a nice adaptation maybe here for CO to try and be more involved in that sense. Although I will say, and like you were bringing up, like I think Titan and CO are two different kind of AD carries. Where if I were to make like a comparison to, I'm not sure if people remember this, but I think CO is kind of like similar to Keith McBride, if people remember that name. Ooh, whoa, that was close, really close there. But he's kind of that sort of AD carry, really good cleanup AD carry, but not the star AD carry that you build a team for.
Yeah, it's just, it's there to play for. Romer and Cody, of course, in the mid lane. We know how this plays out, as every lane outside of the top side is going to be in a comfortable position, as we do understand that I believe this is going to be a mountain dragon to play for. Bot side, we're seeing Pro Delta get chunked out here after trying to go in on the level 2. We know how strong a Rakan and Xayah can be, so you know, these lane shakeups. I like the fact that Pro Delta was trying to get a little bit messy with it, but you have to respect the damage output. Bot side, we're still seeing that dance here as Curry eats up the Ignite that won't be placed on top of Teton, so I think you're okay with that.
Yeah, all in all, like they take away one of the summoners, and the thing for me here in this bot lane is that this is what we expect to see from. Oh wait, Romer taking a huge chunk there actually, and Cody has been really aggressive with this, but now with no Valkyrie here, maybe there's a slight chance to set up for Skarner, although he's going to smartly back away. And speaking a little bit on the bot lane, this is what we expect to see from Kaisa Nautilus. Like they are an engage, a go-in sort of bot lane, where Xayah Rakan is fine to enter you back, but as long as Xayah farms and you open space for the Rakan to move around, that's perfectly fine for them. And I think they're playing this bot lane as they should. Maybe a gank setup here actually.
Oh, and a lane gank as well. Wiser not in a good
really
spot.
good.
That'll be the root, and the first blood headed over to Scary. Well understood that there was a ward in that side. Now a hook down on the bottom side. CO not really able to lay down as much damage as they would like. Not able to land any of the full procs, so no burst damage come through, but huge step up by Leviathan to start things off.
Yeah, and a barrier blown as well from Teton means that now you're a little bit less defensive here with your summoners, and that means that another hook by Pro Delta may mean the death of the AD carry from the side of Pain Gaming. So already starting really well for the side of Leviathan, especially the way that they set up that top lane gank. No flash on the Wen, cannot use the exhaust either to try and set up anything. And then funnily enough, even though Rumble is not typically the one to just go immediately for the auto attacks consistently, he was able to set up the passive from the Sejuani really well. So it's a pretty comfortable skill for the side of the Leviathan in that sense. Also playing around Bish, I'm pretty sure they knew about this Drybush War here, and they just waited for Wiser to walk a little bit too far forward, sets up the passive really well. I think that Flash wasn't completely needed, but better to be secured than sorry, and you end up getting the first blood for the Sejuani in that position.
I think you needed it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I think you needed it just to make sure Zothri was gonna stay alive. If
It's
not,
fair.
you would have traded a 1-for-1 just because of the damage output. But I do agree. Was it necessary? No idea. Was it very useful at that point?
They get the kill.
Absolutely. You get the kill. You
Yeah,
walk
they get
away,
the kill.
and everyone's happy. The fact that Zothri was even able to save the TP, I think is even larger benefit there. So good wins all around. You have about a 700 gold lead, not just from that top side, but also in the mid lane. CS differential there. Bot lane, CO leading with about half a wave. These are not amazing, but it is a nice starting point for Leviathan to continue their roll up. We are seeing those rotations though in the lane swaps in preparation for the Grub fight.
Yeah, and actually, all is setting up very importantly for Leviathan, because you mentioned the teleport was able to be saved. Now it's committed to the bot lane, but since Gwen didn't have teleport, it doesn't matter. He actually gets an extra push, denies some minions from the Gwen in general here, and will be able to collapse this wave as well. They are already set up for a small fight here. Scary will get spotted, but they can try and force something if they want to.
Oh, I think they absolutely could. Curry able to bait away the hook, but now it's going to be an attempt at a turn. But remember, for Pain, they don't really have a full aggressive fight just yet. Still waiting on level 6 for the Skarner, still waiting on level 6 for the Rakan as well. So they don't have those pure engage tools that we normally see just yet. Bot side, though, we're still seeing the Duke out. Both top laners acting in favor. Needlework, though, being thrown down as Weiser is trying to push out Sathi in the bottom lane, just trying to get a health advantage. As we do see the rotations
the
down,
flash
now
in.
the hook comes out here. Pro Delta goes in at level 5, but a pinch against the wall here. Roamer is going to be
Cody's
joining
not
in first,
close, though.
has the ult, launches in, misses everyone, though, splitting the goalpost, but still helping out on that kill. Smite on the Grub, though, will
ulti?
bring it, I believe, to 0-2-1. Now the fight is doing afterwards, though, as once again it is Pain to bring the Pain. That's 2, looking for a third. Scary trying to run them off, hit level 6, but nothing else to play for, and Pain are going to run everyone down here. They are pissed with their early kills. Curry living on a sliver, and I think that's going to be it. CEO possibly dying. Final Feather takes it, and Pain will take the feat of warfare.
Yeah, and I was singing their praises before. They were doing a really good job at the start of it, but then the continuation of that from the Biden, I'm not sure why they decided to opt into that fight in that situation. We saw just seconds before how Cody was getting forced out a little bit from Roamer, just trying to be consistently pesky with the Yone in the lane. But with all of that happening, wait, Sothbane, he does have ultimate, but he still is a rumble against a Gwen with exhaust. He has to be careful. And also Curry coming in on the side.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be that pinch. Zothri does
does have
flash,
flash.
got stuck up on the minions a little bit, and now jumps away. So you are safe. But go back to what you're talking about, because I think we might get a chance to see this fight once again.
Yeah,
But I have to
probably.
agree, Pro Delta actively going in on this just seemed like a little bit of a weird call.
And you can see it on the minimap, right? Like, it's fine to engage, but Roamer will always have first move here. He also has ulti, and you know that you have no ultimate on Scary just yet. You have no ultimate on Pro Delta, and you have no ultimate on CO. Now, the re-engage is fine, but here, Curry sets up the stop into Karaoke, stopping the Corki as well. So killing him before Cody can do anything at all. And then also here, once again, setting up for stopping CO from escaping. Scary is able to go away because he is the Sejuani at the end of the day. But the setup from Curry all fight long was beautiful to see. And I think the difference here comes from understanding better the positioning from your members and how you want to force a fight. It's fine to force a fight, but you need to understand that you need to have the numbers advantage, because if not, the counter engage from the Pain is just simply much better. It's something that they set up for in the pick and ban phase.
I also personally believe that we could have seen a lot more there, but on the bot side, it's an easy setup kill, and now the Pain is being brought around mid lane. We're seeing a dance, but Cody wins it out. Roamer wanted to limit us a little bit, but Cody still had good damage. But remember, it was a 1-2 punch, and the second landed a bit stronger bot side. Getting that kill onto Zothri feels very, very good. TP, though, body blocked here by Titsan, and Pro Delta might be helping out here. Karaoke, though, coming over the side. Ignite goes down. Pro Delta not liking that one. But Weiser TPing towards that mid lane to save the tower means Pain get a decent amount of gold into their pockets.
Karaoke not being there would have meant that Titan will 100% die, by the way. He was about to just die pretty easily to Pro Delta in that situation. That being said, mid lane kill, crucial for Leviathan in this position. They were already quite a few good amount of gold down. Sothbed died in the previous play, and they were losing plates in the bot lane. So they needed urgently to find some sort of gold value, and getting that solo kill in the mid lane from Cody is really, really crucial. Also important because that's going to be one of your main mid lane or main carry threats later on in the game. A secondary AD carry with a lot of gold is always great to have. He did a really good job just standing his ground here, finding a lot of damage on the side, and then just not being scared about the Yoni value. Here it's a pretty straightforward dive. There was nothing Sotbay can do at all here. Not even ulti to push the wave away. Oh, not again.
Right now, Zothi about to get the full Dyrus treatment here. Another gank on the top laner, and no flash, no safety means it is free pickings. And I mean, this is the expected result. After we saw that grub fight, it feels like Pain Gaming are going to sit there very, very happy. Roamer, though, not in a good spot and barely able to survive. But yet, again, that is Pain Gaming doing that 3 times in a row now. The fact that Cody is not able to get a kill off of proactivity and is only getting these low HP opponents is not a good sign, I feel like, because Pain has been allowed to have 3 people alive. First it was Karaoke, and then it was Carry, and now Roamer, all living with slivers.
Yeah, exactly. Like in that situation, it's just difficult to see as Leviathan if you're going to consistently allow Saltbay to, or Saltbay will allow himself to die like that consistently. And then for Roamer, they are taking advantage of the fact that Cody is able to put a lot of pressure onto Roamer, but that is not turning into kills. That is not turning into gold. And you need to find that gold value if you're going to pressure Roamer like that. It looks like they are going to try a little bit more here, and I like the fact that they are going to try a little bit more, but it needs to turn into gold. Ooh,
well, it's not going to. Again, Pain are understanding that Roamer is starting to get a lot of pressure, but they're allowed to fight on the other side. It is a done deal if you understand. Zothi with a decent little dodge around, but the Impale is going to do too much work, and it's going to be an easy one. Zothi, in the last minute and a half, has died 3 times in a row, and yet it feels like it's kind of not his fault. He's had to play in a situation where he's just not going to win any direction.
Yeah, exactly. They just are dumping a lot of resources into trying to kill Saltway and Roamer, but one side is finding consistent success. The other, sadly, is just allowing Roamer to leap away without really giving them anything, and that's turning into a gold lead for the side of Pain, but also complete and utter freedom for the side of Wiser. Look at that, he's 3-1. He's 1.2k ahead of Sotbay. He's also collecting plates for free in the top lane. He's getting the farm as well in the top lane. There's nothing stopping this Gwen, and if that's going to be the case, Wiser would pretty much just run away with the game if he's left untouched.
It's out of this world right now. That it's a scary moment when you can take a look down the line and see that it is just overall Pain side. They are leaning into this constant aggression feel. And right now, Zothi, you have to realize the target is on your back. As we're leading into, I believe, the second dragon up and available. Actually, no, this is, I believe, so first. I don't think anyone's taking the first dragon yet. It's been a mountain the entire time. Nobody wants it. It's been a grub fight overall, as Pain has gotten 5, but right now, this is going to be a chance in Pro Delta, realizing this is not a spot they want to be in. Good flash away. No follow-up means Curry expends the ultimate, and that's about it.
Yeah, they do get the flash out of Pro Delta, so one of the engaged tools down a little bit for Leviathan. But this is the strongest point, or one of the strongest points for Leviathan to try and force something. They have 1 item on each of their members, particularly Cody and CEO having a 1-item power spike here is going to be ideal for them. If this is going to turn into a dragon fight for the first dragon of the game, then so be it. But they need to try and look for something on the side if they are able to. Although vision control here, really good for Pain, and also even without the ultimate by Curie, they still have ways to try and force engage.
Oh, easily. They have no worries about this one, quite honestly. It's an easy takeaway. It will be dragon to Pain Gaming. They now have 2 of the 3 neutral camps that they need to go ahead and claim the feat again and get those upgraded boots. They were 1 grub off, which feels kind of bad, but they got kills out of it anyway, so I think they're going to be happy.
It's just 1 up. They still will get all the extra value coming in on the side, and they are going for Herald right now. They are already set up in position for it, as Roamer will need to protect himself here, although he does have Karaoke on the side. It's a 2v2 potential here if they want to force it.
Oh yes, it's going to be a question and a half, of course. I'm wondering exactly how Leviathan are going to start coming back into this. They're starting to funnel a lot of gold into Cody some more, and they're going to try and do their best for it. But you can see here, gold just, I believe, off of the plates themselves, heavily leaning
Yeah.
into the side of Pain, mostly because Weiser has just been hard roaming and hard taking those tower plates.
Yeah, he was the one that essentially benefited from all of that. He gets like most of the plate gold in his favor plus the minion gold, so he's the one that feels the strongest just based off of that, and he's having a pretty comfortable game. He died once at the start of the game, but after that, barely has been attacked at all. In contrast, actually, he has been the beneficial from multiple kills that they were able to find into South Bay, and as long as he's able to get into the mid game, nothing should or into the late game, sorry, nothing should stop him at all. As FourY really wants it.
Well,
Yeah.
no, they don't just want it. They are going to take it. Pain Gaming
They want
easily
more.
collect that kill, and it's just so simple. I mean, Pro Delta had no flash, had no
Yeah.
safety, and you're still fairly weak. 0-2 right now.
Overall, it's just that it feels like Pain understood better the way that they needed to play the game in continuation, right? Because they start maybe a little bit like questionable, but as soon as they find the right footing into the game, they've been going for multiple perfect plays. Karaoke has been at the right spot consistently, same for the engages that Curry has been trying to look for, and then Titan, like we mentioned this in draft by the way as well, like Titan doesn't need to do a lot. He just needs to be in a spot where he can just press the auto attack button and out attack as much as he wants, and then press ultimate in case something gets weird, and he's completely fine. And the rest of the team follows up pretty effectively on it. And the problem for Leviathan now is that they are funneling so much in Cuddy that if Cuddy is not ahead or completely fine in the game, it's going to be really difficult for Leviathan to find good team fights.
The thing is, trying to find a team fight against Pain Gaming, a squad that is well known to just... They don't care if they're winning or losing the early game. They will beat you down with straight up late game mental fortitude. I mean, that was how their victory came yesterday. Like, they just straight up rolled the mid to late, and we're like, yo, we don't care. We will team fight you. It is not a win condition that you would like to set upon yourself. So for Leviathan, they're just... I mean, we're going to sit there and go, if you want to take that challenge, sure, that might be your only option. It's not one that you want to call for. Of course, for Leviathan, they are playing with heavy vision, trying to keep track of where Karaoke is going. As Karaoke has been 0-5 so far, the presence has been heavy on the map so far, has that finished Heartsteel, and is now looking for that Herald chance, while Roamer is still picking up farm on the bottom lane.
Yeah, they're allocating the resources correctly here, knowing that they have the advantage in gold, knowing that they have the stronger team fight at this point. They are simply just moving their pieces in the right way, knowing that they can leave Roamer down on the bot side. Now he's teleporting mid lane just for extra support, but without a turret bot lane, there's no more need for Roamer to be over there. They can just set up for a potential team fight here in case there's anything, or if not, collect this Herald, move mid lane, take down mid lane turret, set up for next Raccoon. It's just such an effective gold lead that they've been able to find based off of smart plays and understanding the timings that they need to play around with. Like, it's not like they have been doing something grand or anything like that. It's just the smart ways of moving around the map that benefits them in every way possible. And even though Roamer died once as a solo kill, he has been finding a lot of value by himself, and he's also making people go towards him without really paying the price with his life, and that just takes so much more pressure from the likes of Weiser or Titan on the other side of the map.
It's just, you know, for Roamer, I think one of the benefits as well is because Pain have also allocated a lot of resources into Weiser, you can comfortably just take CS and understand that your team is still going to do very well without you.
Yeah.
You can understand that Weiser is going to be a menace, who, by the way, has the Nashers plus the Riftmaker, is 100% comfortable taking just about any fight that's going to come their way.
You can fight.
Oh yeah, the difference is Weiser is also split pushing, so Pain are actively using Curry, Karaoke, and Teton as this kind of buffer resource. They are trying to draw a little bit of attention while the solo laners just keep pushing, keep getting farm, and then rotate in, and now they get to pull this off where they're going to smash into the mid lane tower, take a little bit of that damage, take the tower as well, and maybe look for a dive, and then some CO. Not liking where they're at, and it's a quick snap and death.
Pain.
Down goes CO, and the company needs to find somebody else. It's 2 towers broken. Look at all the grubs that come out here. And it's a quick run away with the Herald straight down to the Dragon. And you can see Teton, the call out here.
I didn't know the minions could actually do that, but hey, it's still 2 turrets for the price of nothing with that Herald, plus the Dragon in the bot side, plus the kill onto CO. It's just such a good well-played game so far for the side of Pain Gaming. They are just really smart about how they are taking all of this. And it's funny because you were mentioning how yesterday they were out team fighting their opposition. But it just goes to show that in general, they are a team that's smart enough to understand what they need to do to just try and get the win. Even if they are ahead, even if they are behind, like they understand situations very well, and it's the difference that it's benefiting them so far. Here, CEO completely locking in position, barely able to escape at all, and then taking down the turrets pretty comfortably on the other side. T10 really loves to do this. I respect this. I want to see more of this, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to be more consistent, man. Especially if they keep on winning like they are doing.
If that is not a highlight picture moment, I wish that were like, if that were grand finals style, that would have been amazing. But it still shows the I want to say the ego needed to be a top team. You need to have that kind of understanding of we will win no matter what. And the fact that CO didn't even burn flash, saw that coming a mile away and didn't have the flash available, or didn't use the flash, it does say something. I feel about Leviathan as they are kind of struggling. They're obviously struggling here. We got the Runus Otacon here, meaning Pain Gaming is going to have such an extended buff on whatever they do. This is also a sub 22-minute Otacon as well. This is a massive boon to Pain Gaming. They are going to be so happy about this current state with all of the plants going their way, the flowers bolstering their strengths.
If they weren't already strong enough, now they're even stronger. So it's going to be a little bit more scary. They are trying to set up here a turret dive potentially, or just turret taking as they are looking to try and kill Cody. But ooh, wait, actually.
Well, a little bit of a far dive. TP coming in here, and they're going to have to chase away Karaoke right in the front lines, but Zaw3 says, hey, I got Scary around the wings. This is going to be that chance, but a nice Glacial Prism lands on Curry. Curry's able out, but Impale on 3! What a turnaround! Pain Gaming bring the pain. Weiser's here to play. The scissors will snipe away and cut at the life force of Leviathan, and down they all go. Ace for Pain Gaming.
Yeah, that is doomed now. That's such a good team fight coming in for the side of Pain. And it's funny because it started so good for Leviathan and then immediately just went so downwards. It felt really difficult to watch at the end there. But that's a mix of both the gold diff and also position diff in that position. They were trying to find Curie so effectively, but they never were able to lock down even the support, and then the rest of the members able to reposition, re-engage, and find so many more valuable targets. It's funny how Weiser got so much gold, but he barely got a highlight at all in the game.
Look at this run as well. T-Son getting in the faces and saying, you know who took you down. Oh, man, you gotta show up. And, of course, with words exchanged between CO as well as T-Son, you gotta show him what's up.
Hey, seriously, taking it nicely. That's competitiveness right there. It's fine if you're going to laugh at that, but it's good that both sides understand that this is part of it. So all good with it.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And you got to give credit where credit is due. Leviathan, they tried, but Pain came with the absolute fire necessary to maintain their top spot. 5-1 now in this placement splits, and they are looking unstoppable here. Take a bow, gentlemen. You have played an excellent game of League of Legends.
Yeah, 100%. I would even say like that's one of the best games just in general for what we've been able to see from just a LTA South team in general. Like smart approach, really good control. It's fine if you want to go for the kills as well, but I feel like it's more important the way to play the map in a manner that really elevates your gameplay in general. Because one of my biggest criticisms for LTA South teams for so long has been that they are really good mechanically, but they are really dumb mentally. And I hope that that doesn't sound as bad as it just sounded. But like, I want you to be good with your hands, but I want you to be good with your brain as well, please. And this sort of game from Pain gives me hope, because this is the thing that will make a difference when teams go against international competition. Really good game by Pain in general.
Of course, and hopefully they continue their upwards trend here. Leviathan, they fall down to, I believe, 3-3, which is not a bad score by any record. They are going to be sitting at the middle of the pack. As we mentioned, they were pretty much secure in about their 4th or 5th place seeding. And, you know, at the end of the Super Week here, they'll either be 4-3 or 3-4. Either way, they're going to be looking great. At the same time, though, TDS, we have another match on our hands coming up here. It is going to be Loud versus a Fluxu W7M. Two teams who are also looking for their footing in more ways than one. We'll see how that one plays out. Of course, we're going to go to a very short break, and when we come back, the LTA South will continue. Before that, we want to give a big shout out to all of our production side, and it would mean a lot if you go ahead, give us a follow, give us a like, and all the fun sort. Also, check out our YouTube channel as well that hosts a podcast now, I believe, weekly, going over the week, as well as taking a look at some ups, some downs, and some spotlight moments throughout all the matches. We'll see you back in just a bit for game number 2.
So hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the fall, or we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies. The champions of the world that we defy. A solo ride of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light.
game number 2 here, ready to roll, and it's not going to be the top team versus top team or top team versus lower team. It is going to be teams that desperately need victories if they want to stay in the upper side of the bracket. So let's go ahead and dive right in, because it is Loud versus Fluxu W7M. And I mean, Loud have had a very nice time over the last 2 games.
Picking up when it's right, like at the end, trying to get their victories, trying to set up the more they play together. And also, it's not only for the position, like finding moment, right? Not only for group position, but coming into that group. That's where it really is going to end up mattering the most if you end up dropping or winning games. And they have been stacking up some really nice victories. We do need to put into context that they have been technically against lower tier teams when you think about it. It's been Isurus and then Leviathan, which if they are able to find a win here, they are pretty much atop of the lower tier teams, to put it like that, with Leviathan as well, but then the rest of the members as well.
It's such a there's a lot riding on this, even though it might not look so just from the standings. But I gotta agree, for Loud though, yesterday's matchup was interesting to say the least. Going up against IE was one that I was not expecting to be so close in the early stages, and yet Loud came away with the mid to late game presence and with the mid to late game powerhouses. I mean, you had Robo, you had Shinny, you had Tinones, Root, and Red.
Yep.
All these players that people love to hate and hate to love. I mean, all the same. It's just, it's a statement, but they had such strong late game mentality that I am excited to see them play here once again.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how this is such a fan favorite team, but at the same time they had some players that maybe made you question some of the fan favoritism that you had at some moments. But all in all, like, they're still a team that everyone can get behind of, and I think that they've been finding their groove in that way. As long as they are able to get a better food or of what they want to do inside of the game, I think that they can be a really strong team. And it also starts with getting victories against top teams. It's important to get victories against the lower tier teams, because that's what gets you into a better position to even be able to fight against the top tier teams. So they are finding the right steps here, and then going to be a fun test, because if they win tomorrow here, the next test is going to be Furia, and that's the real test going forward as well.
Yep, it is going to be that test of ages, and for Fluxu W7M, they're a squad that have, again, yet to really find their footing. We mentioned that a lot of the members came up from the Academy side. I mean, I think FourY4 lovingly called them Pain Academy going up when they fought against Pain Gaming yesterday, but it is very true. I mean, you have Hidan, you have Gangs, Fu, Marvin, and Geeks, all these players that, you know, still trying to make their mark, and yet it's coming to the end of the season, right? You're coming to this moment where you don't have a moment to waste. If not, if you drop here, you're going to be facing up against some strong opponents come the secondary group stage.
Yeah, like, you don't want to be facing the top squads just like that, especially if it's a do or die kind of situation just yet. But also, like you're mentioning, this is a test for a lot of these players that are getting their first tastes into like tier 1 play, right? It's a very big difference, a very big margin between tier 2 and tier 1, especially when you compare top teams in tier 1 to top teams in tier 2. And this is good for them to get this sort of experience. It also wheels out who can take the full brunt of the difference in levels, and who will just shatter with the pressure in general. So I'm really excited to see what else can this Fluxu squad do. That being said, there's obviously positives in it. I think particularly the biggest positive that I find with Fluxu has to be their bot lane. One of the things that I'm the most looking forward to, and the thing that I will keep on having an eye on when they consistently play.
It's you know, how far can they go? We're looking at these pieces of the puzzle, and I'm just, oh man, this matchup, I feel I feel it's gonna be messy at the end of the day. It is going to 100% be messy, and that scares me, because the drafts themselves have looked fairly meta standard. I was talking about it yesterday to myself and just kind of looking over. I'm not the most draft proficient. This is the reason that I'm a play-by-play. But when I look at Fluxu W7M, their drafts have not been out of this world, right? It has not been that it feels like they're always on the losing side, but it does feel like they lack a lot of that luster. Once you get in game, the champions just don't feel as comfortable. So I'll be looking at that to see if it spaces out appropriately, if they're able to really bring a shine to this game overall. But for Loud as well, I mean, They themselves, I know that you talked about, them stepping up against some of the top dogs up there, but man, do they really need this win over Fluke. So I think just as a mental standpoint as well, they want to continue this roll of victories, 1-0s against Leviathan and IE so far.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this comes from the fact that Fluxo is technically a lower tier team, right? Like,
we stated that a few teams. We apologize to any Fluxo fans out there. We don't want to get in trouble with that.
Yeah, like just to make the distinction here, when I mean lower tier, I don't mean like they are really bad. I just mean standing wise, you were in the bottom part. That's
1-4 right now.
So technically, this should be a team that you are going to beat. Like if you're Loud or Leviathan, this is a team that you need to beat. And then for Fluxo, every win is going to be good, but it's not expected at all. Like a 1-4 scoreline means that every win kind of comes as an upset more so than you being the favorite going into any of the games. But that is also the beauty, because it means that every win can show that you're finding progress in general. And as with the ban phase already started, once again, Blue side able to secure that Gwen immediately, and then buy Ari immediately pick for Loud. We talked about the combo for the buy being a little bit more effective if she's able to find follow-up for her ultimate. Ari is really good at following up a lot of the engages from junglers. That being said, this is one of those 2v2s that if it falls behind, it's like having a rock and then a very small animal following you around, and it's not going to be effective.
I don't know how that picture works out, but I can feel that through my monitor here. What we are seeing, though, is a heavy setup for Fluxo as they're going kind of all out in this aggression here. You had the Galio and you had the Gwen. These are two great champions. The Gwen kind of riding in the top side. And then they lock in the Nefiri. So for Gang's first time on this champion, at least so far in the split. And it's a drastic shift. We've seen them on the Sejuani, Nocturne, and Zinzao, all these kind of playmaking champions. And now you're going for the play champion. You are the carry for your team.
Yeah, going to go for a much more aggressive look here, as the Jack's going to be most like, yeah, I think it's going to be here. So Jack's Gwen, that's going to be a fun one. Robo on the Jax is going to be really exciting to see here, and pretty straightforward composition by Loud, nothing out of the ordinary. Fluxo, like you're mentioning, bearing a little bit more from their typical attempts at going for compositions here. And I like the composition here, by the way, just because with the untargetability from the Nefiri, you can technically go in, follow up with Galio ultimate, become untargetable, and then you essentially take no damage while the Galio falls down into everyone. Kind of a fun combo idea if they can pull it off. As the remaining bans will come through, a lot of AD carry bans probably will come through here as well. Kalista should be one of the focuses, Ezreal, Misfortune, Jean I think as well. And pretty straightforward when you think about the bans that will come through here.
I would personally wonder if Ashe is something that you want to be worried about. When I take a look down Loud's composition, Ashe I think sets up a lot of good Ashe setup, actually. And you also don't have to put too much in. Root has shown that they are able to play a lot of these safety pickups. They've also flexed the Corki before. But I like the fact that you can launch an arrow from cross map. You can really set up Robo in that top side if you get a cross map ult, or you get even the mid lane, right? We're talking about Shinny and Tin Owns. You can set them up. Like it would take a lot of the weight off. But right now we are looking for that last ban, as you mentioned. Eyes out for exactly who it's going to be played, and it is going to look like you might lean into that support, as we saw the Poppy banned out as well. And there is that Rakan. So denial of the denial, if that can make sense.
It's just going to devolve into Nautilus, Leona, or Alistar, or Rel. Like one of the four. So it's kind of, I'm just kind of expecting that at this point. I can see Rel just being picked here to have a little bit of a tank follow-up.
Oh, dude,
but like you were mentioning, you were talking about the asset.
I'm so smart!
It actually works out perfectly here. Like you were mentioning, having that global engage tool with the Ashe Arrow is so good. And particularly to stop engage potentials from something like the Galio, having that Ashe Arrow is really nice. Also, the lane control here is going to be great, especially if you opt into something like the Kai'Sa. Looking more like the Kalista will be the pick here. And with Kalista, you always have to consider something like the Renata or the Nico as the secondary pick to follow up here. But the Ashe will still have a good amount of range to play around with. And this is still could be an Ashe support. We have seen it pop up occasionally so far in the year. It hasn't found success as of now, but it's still something to keep in mind. And yep, there's the Nico.
Yep, this is the new school Kalista style. Now keep in mind, if it is an Ashe ADC, we've seen Ashe is actually utilized as like a semi counter pick into a Callista. You get the slows on the auto attacks, and you kind of double negate the attack speed that a Callista can put out here. But I like the fact that you did mention that it can be an Ashe support, and when we see a Seraphine locked in here, which is going to be surprisingly for Redbird, again, has played very stalwart champions. This is almost the exact 180 from what Redbird has played in the past. For reference, has played the Alistar twice, Braum, Rel, Rakan even. You are going heavy utility here on this Seraphine to try and stay away from the Nico.
So the funny thing here with the Seraphine is that even though your team composition now essentially is a buy engage tool, like buy will be your main engage tool for finding fights, the Seraphine can also be an engage tool just off of the fact that your ultimate gets extended the more champions pass through, right? So even if the buy goes a little bit too far forward, as long as you hit 1 or 2 allied champions, it can reach the buy and it can reach the backline. So the setup can exist really effectively for the side of Loud if they are able to make that initiation work out. That being said, it's still a similar problem that from what we said at the start, where if the buy and the Ahri fall behind really early, which can always happen with this sort of duos that are really aggressive when they are trying to go for plays, then it makes the Seraphine fall down a little bit as well, because she's dependent on what the rest of the team will able to accomplish, more so than just engage champions like the Alistar, the Renata, the Rel or the Leona that function by themselves instead of depending on the rest of the team. So it's going to be interesting seeing how Loud will find their avenues to try and force fights this game. But when you consider later stages of the game, having that Ashe Seraphine is going to be much better for them, and the Jax as well.
And I feel like it leans into the fact that, Robo has been such a star for the side of Loud in some of their wins, and being able to play his signature Jax. This is a setup moment. Loud are like, yo, let's bring the Jax to the forefront. We got a somewhat decent matchup. It's going to be tough either way, but you're going to be happy about it come that late game. And I'm also hoping if we can see Loud shore up their early game, because if they want a victory, they are going to need it. They are going to fight tooth and nail for their victories here. And let's see if they can do it. Loud versus Fluxu W7M for the middle of the pack standings. Let's dive in.
I really love the way that they are setting everything up here. Looks pretty ethereal in general. And then we get the Seraphine competition once again. Nothing out of the ordinary. They are just going to try and get a little bit of vision control. Maybe just a couple of wards here and there. Actually, more vision for the side of Fluxo 7M. W7M, sorry. And nothing much, actually. Like, it's pretty just standard.
I mean, it's understandable. No one wants to get too crazy here. No one wants to get out of this world, and I can appreciate that. Again, looking towards that early game, though, I'll be very, very curious to see how exactly this all pans out and who is going to be stepping up. Right now, it's actually Redbird that is singing their way out of a laning phase. Geek stepping up with a little bit of identification here.
Ouch.
Good little tether onto Marvin, saying, okay, you can't fight this one out too quickly. They just want awards, though. That's all they're going to be happy about. So Fluxo very happy about picking up double wards inside of opposing jungle side, so they will have clear identification where Shinny's gonna go.
Yeah, funny how they end up setting up everything there. They actually put one of the wards, or actually their vision wards end up going on the blue side jungle of Loud, from the Loud team. That means that they will not have vision over on the river. So if there's any gank attempt by ganks, funnily enough, like, he's not going to be spotted perfectly unless the Ashe Hawk spots him out, which could end up being a really good setup for Fluxo.
And I mean, if they are able to kind of start things off with a bang, that'll make things a lot easier come that level 6, come that moment of we want to bring the team fight, we want to bring the damages down. Eyes out, though. It's another Mountain Dragon, which is very, very surprising. Last time it was left to about 13 and a half, 14 minutes in there. This time around, I'm assuming it's going to be taken a little bit quicker. Both Vi and Neferi want some of their neutral camps as quickly as possible, so taking those neutral objectives will be paramount in their Robo, of course, as you saw in the 3-lane matchup, trying to make sure that they get a nice little push going, a nice coverage on the top side and hit that level 3, maybe look for duels and out trading Hedon as much as possible, even at the level 2 stance, though. Make sure to get that swinging, take a nice 20%.
Yeah, nice trades to start it off. And like you're mentioning, there is a really good discrepancy between the junglers here. And yeah, look at that early gank, no vision, Rude, insta flash.
So good. And I love that call. Root realizing they're not in a good spot. They had the flash, they had the barrier, and they're going to try and flash away, but the flash to follow means the barrier ain't enough.
Yeah.
You waited too long. First blood to Marvin. Second coming out here. No. Redbird able to flash away. That's just an overextension. Well called by Fluxu W7M. You called it, TDS.
Yeah, that's the power of vision, right? You use all your vision on one side, guess what? You end up getting completely unattended because you have no vision control on the other side, and ganks taking full advantage of that really well, going in on the side. And also, there's all kind of a funny dynamic and a little bit of a bait that comes with having double range 80 bot lanes. Because with double range, you get control pretty easily. But by controlling the lane when you have no vision, you get a false sense of security that if you're pushing too far forward and you have no vision at all, you're going to end up losing a lot if you're getting ganked, and that's exactly what happens. So Kalista to start it off, 1 kill, and then also there's no flashes now on Redbird and Root. Oh,
well, you know who also might be in a little bit of trouble. Fu realizing that they're not in a good spot. Doesn't really like where they're currently standing. No flash needed, though. But they are going to lose a decent chunk of their HP. Eyes out, though. Ganks was able to take out that top scuttle. They're going to be happy about that one. Robo, though, ready to fight it out. Hidan getting stunned up here. And, of course, everyone goes back to the laning phase, which has been pretty explosive here at the start of the game.
Yeah, already a first blood, really good for the side of Fluxo, and then also already starting to try and find body with that Vi and Ahri. But it's something that we were expecting. The Ahri and the Vi, as a duo, need to begin moving around, especially as soon as T-Nouns hits level 6. That's something that we need to see them moving around the lane, trying to find different opportunities to attack other lanes, maybe particularly the spot lane, because they will have push advantage also just off the fact that you're playing against a Galio. Galio is not really a champion that is known to consistently out-push you in general. He will take the damage off of you, and he's going to be able to push the lane effectively, but the Ahri should be able to out-push you. Ooh, Hidan.
This is...
I think it's fine,
We kind of expected this one. We expected this by a mile.
Yeah.
The setup from Robo and Shinny to follow. Very comfortable state, and already we are seeing Loud once again put so many resources into Robo and this top side. You know Fluxu W7M are going to have to respond at some point.
I really thought Hidan could have survived there. I really thought he was going to be able to survive there. Sad for him, he's not able to survive. They have control over the dragon though, so that means that that's going to be the first dragon of the game. Actually, at the start of the game, going in the favor of Fluxo, as Fu trying to get a little bit of knockdown, not going to be the case against T-Nouns here, but you need to find this sort of early advantages, like you were mentioning before. Having these early objectives in your favor means that Ganks and Marvin are going to be much more of a threat, because they can lock down these objectives much more effectively compared to other members. As we see the back here, really nice by Robo there, taking just a third shot to stop Hidan's back. And I feel like Hidan, the lack of respect there from where he was backing, is the thing that ends up making the difference.
And it feels so good for Shinny as well. This is, yeah, you kind of saw it coming after that first bop on the top of the head.
Yeah.
So well done to Robo and Shinny for making sure that happens. And now Ganks is in a rough spot because you maybe wanted a little bit more strength on the top side, but your top side isn't exactly winning. Robo, even though you're about half health, is still in very comfortable position. It's actually going to dance forward with the level 6 double bop and then one more. Ganks wanted to turn to help out, but Hidan calling that one off. Fu and Geeks here to help out on the grubs, though, as Shinny is realizing, maybe I don't test this one as much. So comfortable as comfortable can be. Fluxu W7M, even though it doesn't feel like they have great control over the map, have actually claimed 2 neutral camps for themselves. Grab the grubs and grab the dragon.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes from the fact that because you were able to win bot lane pretty effectively with that initial kill, you're able to leave the Kalista by herself. That being said, it's still double range, and Root and Redbird are doing a good job at trying to deny CS from the Kalista, but the gold difference is not that high off of the fact that the Kalista did get that first blood. Still, you don't want to leave her by herself for too long because she's going to lose more plates here, and like you were mentioning, Ashe into Kalista is not a fan matchup at all. They do have Ashe Arrow here, maybe they can look for something.
I mean, if they look for anything, I don't think it's going to be underneath. They need that encore behind as well. So Root's just going to hang on to that one and probably wait to see if anyone's coming around the side. As we mentioned, it's not really for the laning phase. You're not worried too much about catching anyone specifically out. It is going to be for that mid-game power spike when you're looking for those team fights, when you're needing that piece of the puzzle, especially considering Marvin is looking very strong here with that 1 kill, ready to go buy up if given the option. But at the current moment, we're just pacing out as we are seeing Shinny look for a little bit of invade and actually dances over the wall straight into Gank's viewpoint. But there are so many members currently around the side that it's a little bit dangerous on either end. Ganks is now going to step up, fight over this red buff. It's going to gently reset on the threat meter, and Ganks is going to try and pull it off to the side. Fu now getting danced on around the top end, and they actually catch Shinny. Shin-E is rooted and taken down, and it is going to be the invulnerability for Ganks, and all of a sudden, it's Loud in a really bad spot. Over the wall you go, Tin owns, getting the rest of the team out. Redbird and Root able to flash to safety, but they do lose their jungler. Great collapse from Fluxu.
Isn't it great when your champion is about to die and you get invulnerable and then no longer is a threat of dying? That's such a good play by Fluxo, by the way. They're really close. Like, the margin of error in that play is very, very slight. If they kill Ganks there, I'm pretty sure Loud can just immediately move into killing the rest of the members. So the difference between just winning and losing that fight is really small there, as Tinounds may have to try and flash here, though. He has to escape there in that position, but no Ash Arrow connecting. Shinny doesn't have ultimate either, so it's not going to turn into anything else.
Nope. And it was a nice little attempt. Again, for Shinny, losing out in the jungle side feels a little bit bad. We've talked about the ups and downs of Vise before, but remember, that's on the side without Robo. And at this point, if Loud lose one inside the jungle, it's not the end of the world. Just got Robo up there power farming and having a 676 gold lead over their lane opponent. Yeah, we even take a look and we're just seeing this wave stack up again, and Robo's so happy in the top side. Has already gotten 2 plates for himself, and I don't think it's going to change any time soon. Hidan kind of be put on this back burner, and it's a twofold piece, right? We know how strong a Gwen can be, and putting a Gwen behind early is massively important for the health of your mid to late game. You want to make sure this Gwen can't do anything, but of course Robo, realizing this fight might be breaking out here, needlework one more slice, is able to catch so many, but the flash out with the re-engagement brings Hidan down to about 100 HP. And it was a battle of the skill set, battle of who has the better hands, and both come out showing their stuff.
So technically speaking here, it's advantage Hidan just because of the flash down for Robo, especially with the difference in gold. I think probably better for Hidan in that sense. Does have teleport, so can try and come through. Actually, no, he's already off of the teleport, cannot just immediately teleport back into the lane. And with the movement from some of the members, probably not going to be trying to force anything weird as of now. But already seeing that the Gwen can put a fight onto the Jax, even though the Jax is a little bit ahead, and it's going to set up for really fun dynamics on the side lanes. The rest of the map, though, looking pretty straightforward, trying to get control back so that they can force fights when the next set of grubs spawn, especially with teleports on the mid laners. I'm pretty sure we're going to see a couple of fights as soon as they are able to just position themselves to try and force something, and they are already looking for it.
I mean, if you can gather all of these, not only have you claimed the feat, but it's just showing overwhelming macro sense. And for Fluxu W7M, talked about the fact that, you know, they struggled historically in getting kind of the early game, their presence on the map, and so far they're doing very well on it. Granted, looks like they only wanted to grab one. Ganks, though, diving in straight into the mix, goes invulnerable and is able to dive away from that encore. It's going to allow Shinny to get into the site, but is this grub take really going to be the big battle that they want to stake their claim on? Everyone joining in. Good smite away. It is going to be going to one. Arrow cleanse away by Marvin. TP coming in as well. It looks like Loud have gotten what they wanted. One grub away, not the full 6 smite, though, brings it to 5 for Fluxu W7M.
Yeah, committing the teleport, though, means that now there's going to be a little bit of time for T-Nouns and also for the rest of the team to move towards this dragon. So it's going to be dragon apiece, it feels like, for both sides. But with the extra grubs, they will have much more turret taking power to try and get more gold, or at the very least something else coming in on that. It's fun seeing the dynamic of what they prioritize on both sides. Loud can try and prioritize fighting a little bit more, but it doesn't look like they are really scared about giving out those grubs. They care more about just finding a stable game where they can try and put more pressure later on, especially with Robo being this strong. And as long as they are able to give the space to Robo to play the game on the side lane or by himself, it should be fine for them.
Let's see how, interestingly, the rest of the laning phase plays out here. Fu, of course, now on the bottom side, not having the TP, but has the ultimate to join in on the fight. Rod of Age is now completed for Tin Own, so we'll see that counting up. It is the current state of the Aries. You know exactly how they want to play and how they want to build. And now we get to see, I love this dance, by the way. I love the fact that this can work here. Geeks, of course, just running around here, being a giant pain in the butt, and Redbird's like, you're not fooling anyone, bro.
Yeah, there's no more. There needs to be more dogs for me to believe you're him. As they are setting up here on the top side, by the way, and this may turn into a little bit of a fight. We see Fluxo not scared of forcing things, especially even though they don't have the Galio close by. So maybe they will try and force something, but instead it's just a quiet, we saw you, you saw us, and that's it.
And the pacing, I think, is the correct response. We see Robo kind of shifting out of that top side specifically, and making sure that they're present around the map with the heavy warding from Fluxo. It's been this challenge of getting all your players in the right spot. You're not exactly in the best position because you're still down in gold about 800, and it should be felt a little bit in the itemization, but there's nothing really to play for. You look, there's no dragon, there's no herald, obviously. It's still a moment, so everyone's kind of taking that time to build themselves up here.
Oh, wait.
Of course, on the top side, it might be Hidan that realizes they're not in a good spot. Quick bop on the tower, but a quick jump in means it's a 3-person dive. And that is the roughest one that we've seen in ages. Hidan off of TP, loses her life, loses plates, loses the tower.
Yeah, Robo is having the day of his life here with all that he's getting in his favor. As Raud, maybe, yeah, he may be dead here. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but that one looked even more convincing. It's an ADC getting towered, though.
Yeah, like, I was hoping maybe with the flash and with the barrier, you do so, like, he's able to survive a little bit longer, but not even Gwen with Ghost took this little time to just die on the side. So really unlucky there. They don't lose the turret. Actually, they end up losing another turret in the top lane. It's 2 turrets in the top side that end up falling down compared to just Raud dying for the side of Cloud. And that means that the gold values is still so much more in favor of the side of Cloud. Maybe they lose this turret in the bot. Not even that. Sorry. No, not even that. The gold values is still much more in favor of Cloud.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to continue to be so. Right now, a little bit of a hawk shot goes out, spotting out any potential stragglers coming out here, but we gotta go back. Robo just got a massive injection of gold in that top side. Hidan is going to be much worse aware, just completed the Riftmaker, but you look on the other side, Robo is fully in that moment, and you can even see there with the damage output or with the gold totals right now, miles ahead of anyone else. It feels like Robo has an item and a half very comfortably in that phase, and I don't think it's going to change any time soon, even with the plates in their advantages. They are stacking Robo to be this menace in a side lane push, and no one on the side of Fluxo W7M will be able to contest with that fact.
Yeah, he really needs to be the 1v9 here, and he kind of is set up for that. As long as like he doesn't get picked off on the side randomly, he should be just a complete menace to be able to destroy everyone that is trying to kill his team or anything similar to that, as everyone is setting around here in the mid lane, maybe like looking for a fight or something similar. As
nice little pinch,
Geeks.
But no true follow-up. What a charm, though.
Ooh.
An insta cleanse into ult, though, means that they've expended quite a bit. Fluxo W7M trying to make sure to keep their ADC alive, meaning they've lost all presence on the top side of the map. It will be Herald going the direction of Loud, and they're going to be really happy about that one. That challenge, all it was a charm, I believe, from 10 owns that set that entire chain of action off.
Yeah, really well set up there by T-Nons, and all that was committed by Fluxo ended up just going to the garbage with that sort of play, sadly. I like the attempt or the idea that they are trying to force a fight around their cooldowns, and sadly we haven't seen the teamfight plan that they maybe were trying to set up for in the ban phase, right? Where they have sorry, I'm blanking on the name of the dog, but they have they have their jungler ready to go in, and they have the Nico as well ready to go in to follow up with the Galio. But they haven't really set up for those sort of team fights or those sort of plays at all. I think we have barely seen the Galio proactively used, only that one ultimate defensively, and that's it. Oh, wait.
Oh. Right now, we might see a little bit difference as that's a 3-man ulti with the Nico, setting it up. Geeks tries to help out, but there's no damage to follow through. Loud about the re-engagement, and they're going to bring the pain. Fu is nowhere close as the Galio just watched his team get obliterated, and Loud win a convincing 4-0 team fight.
it's perfectly fine if you want to go for that, but go for it when the Galio ultimate is up. Galio wasn't even close. Galio wasn't even with his ultimate active. Like, I could smell the desperation off of that play from Fluxo. And just like that, 3 turrets in the mid lane are about to fall down, plus the dragon, plus all the gold that they just got. And the gold lead spiked so much towards the 5k in favor of Loud. It's kind of disaster for Fluxo, and it's just off of desperation here. It's fine if you want to force this, but force it when you have the Galio ultimate.
I mean, you even got lucky enough. I believe the Encore went the opposite direction. So this was like 80% of Loud strength right here. It is destructive how much damage came out of Tin Owns right there. And I gotta agree with you, TDS. That felt like desperation. And call it for what it is. Loud having one of the cleanest games so far here. Yes, they gave up some early presence with the macro. Yes, they gave up some grubs and a dragon. But this mid game, they have accelerated the pacing since about 15 minutes. And it's off the back of Robo having a stellar early game. And then Shinny and Tin Owns being ready to fight at the drop of a hat.
And I really like the way that both games have contrasted with the way that the Gwen has performed, right? Because in the previous game, Gwen just felt completely like the strongest champion in the game. Barely did anything against her. She was completely in control of the top lane and able to just run the game. Here, Hiran didn't get enough attention from his own team, but then in the same vein, like, he committed a couple of mistakes that just made Robo be stronger and stronger. And that just meant that the Gwen was not going to find the same value that when the previous game was able to accomplish. And we see it in multiple times in team fights. Even with the mist, like, the Gwen barely survives a lot of the engaged potential that comes in from multiple other members. Plus, like you were mentioning, Redbird fails the Encore, and that still doesn't matter. We're allowed to end up winning the fight. They are just that strong at this point in the game, and Luxo is really weak in comparison at this point of the game.
You can see there in the cams, teams getting set up once again for match number 3. They know that the end of the game is close, and we hate to call it, but Loud is ready for the end of this game as well. They are sitting.
They have one Hail Mary on them.
Oh my gosh. The arrow from downtown is like the icing on the cake. Root sending an absolute message in the other direction, and now we're seeing the Encore land. Ain't no chance. Tin Owns with the double.
Yeah, I was thinking about the potential of the Hail Mary play, and no, Gangs is even getting collapsed on the side, actually.
I'm not sure about this one, but they do dive in opposite directions. They took different detours, and that leaves Gangs completely alone. Fu will now get chunked out. The Galio is destroyed. Fluxu W7M aim for 7 different preys at once and lose all of them.
Yeah, they probably should try and focus one. Like, I'm pretty sure a Predator is trying to just lock down one piece of meal before he goes for the rest. I'm not sure, like, if going for 5 different targets makes them better of a Predator or not. Maybe Robo kill. I should stop trying to say maybe they kill someone. They haven't killed anyone in a long while.
It's true. They got all of their kills in the early game, and it just hasn't really stood the test of time. Inhibitor is still available for them, so they're not worried about those massive super minions crashing in, but they still have to worry about this gold lead. We have gone to a 9.3k lead in favor of Loud, and it's been expanding across all marks, but namely for Robo, who is now 3.7. The rest of the team now about 1 to 1.5 in different laning setups. But really, at this point, it's allowed to determine when they want this game to end. Quite honestly, I could see it fall before 24 minutes. One good team fight and Fluxu's W7M have nothing. Take a look at this arrow, by the way, all the way back before, landing directly on, no cleanse available, and then the cascade of death that came afterwards was painful.
Yeah, you can see how everything just falls right into the place that Loud wants it to fall into. 3 comfortable kills on the side. Bai and Nafiri were actually fighting on the side, so Gangs and Shinny were going at each other, but Bai just escapes, and then Gangs is in a spot where he needs to commit or run away, ends up committing, ends up not finding any sort of value, and then we see the rest of the play that leaves us a little bit baffled in their decisions as to where they want to go for. But I just want to see Fluxo try and go for, at the very least, a peak with the combo that they drafted for. Like, go with the Fury for the Robo, maybe. Like, you can go Hiran, Gangs, and Fu all onto Robo. even if you don't kill him, at the very least, try and make a play with that in mind so that you can try and maybe get something in your favor. But we have barely seen that at all from Fluke, so it feels like if it's not a 5v5, they are not willing to commit.
And the thing is, I honestly don't disagree with him, because at this point you probably need 5 to kill anyone on the side of Loud. It is a necessity.
Maybe
Cakes is now running
no.
in, 4 dogs available, and they can't do anything. Dragon is now up. It is a Cloud Soul to play for, which means that the entirety of Loud is roaming so much faster. An immediate Dragon take means there is no response coming out here from Fluxu W7M, and they're just trying to farm it up. Fu pushed up very heavily in that top side, but Tin Owns can't look at a wraparound, instead backing away because Ganks is in the area, and Baron is up in just a minute and a half. Loud quite possibly looking at all the busts to close this game out.
Yeah, they can wait for that Baron buff. It's not like they are in a hurry to try and close this out as well, like you're mentioning. It was also just soul point, so it's not like they are forcing the Elder to come in as quickly as possible. They can take their time with that as well. But with the way that the game is going, I'm expecting that next fight, if not next couple of fights, should be the deciding factor here for Loud. They're just waiting for the right time to be able to end it, and that's about it. For Fluke, so like you're mentioning, they probably will take 5 members to even kill 1, but they need to do something. Like, at this point, anything is better than nothing. Because if not, you're just going to slowly bleed out. And you're going to die anyway.
You really are. So let's see where the fight goes, and if it's in their own call or not. Jungle being cleared out by Loud because, you know, why not? The enemy jungle is their jungle. Everything is owned by Loud at this moment. But they are going to take their time. Robo on the bot side has TP available if they wish to bring it to a 4 to 5 player Baron take. And you can see Geeks with this Nico has had some impact, but just not enough, right? So using that clone to clear out vision. But the entirety of this jungle side for the Baron, dark for Fluxu W7M. Not even a Scryers is going to help you.
Yeah, no, they have complete control over the side that will have complete access into the objective. Even though Fluxo is able to get back a little bit of control over the bot side jungle and able to get some camps for ganks, it's not like they are turning that into much bigger profit. And Idan responding to Robo, trying to find some gold in his favor as well. But when you look at the gold difference as well into that top lane, 4k gold in favor of Robo, it feels like complete doom for them as well.
Don't start calling it TDS. That's not very nice of you. We keep sitting here just being like, Fluxu's got nothing in the bank. It's just waiting. But
it's right. You're right. I will say, like, there's ways for them to turn this back. The first one is kill someone. If you can start with that, there's ways to turn around this game. As Robo just takes top bot lane turret. It's fine. It's okay. It's fine if Robo gets that turret. But you need to force something. Oh, okay. No, that was a clone. Hey, Ash arrow down.
Yeah. I mean, that's one way to do it. You know, hey, step 1 to getting a kill is body block the arrow. That will stop you taking it. But as you said, it's already looking a little bit more damage heavy as that bottom inhibitor is completely cleared by Robo. TP coming in here just to ensure that the Baron is going to be safely taken. But you can tell, I mean, with the new TPs, you know they're on it. But of course, Redbird trying to run interference here. Tin owns with a little bit of a charm. Baron already down to about 1.5. Nobody getting into the mix, and now you're in a bad position for a fight. Robo ready for the jump in. That'll be the pop blossom. Not landing on anyone, and it's a split battle exactly like Loud want. They are going to chew through these HP bars like nobody's been. This Fu leaps onto literally no one, and it's a triple for Root, and it's a 4-for-0 as only Geeks to stay alive. Loud from start to finish are looking better and better through this super week as their day 2 matchup will lead to one of the more convincing victories of their split 2 fashion. Congratulations, GG's, Loud with the game.
Yeah, Loud pulling off such a good game so far. I will say though, I think an action from Fluxo did play a huge factor into this, but that also is a strength that you need to manage as team, right? Like, you don't need to always be proactive. You don't need to always make something happen. You need to understand when to go and when to stop. And I think Loud did a really good job at that all around this game. Particularly Robo had a huge lead, played smartly around that lead, never overcommitted nor overstayed on a side lane, being a target that they could kill easily. And at the end, it just worked out really effectively for Loud. And like you're mentioning, really good Super Week so far for them, and especially their last matchup. If depending on results, like that last matchup could define third and fourth place as well. So excited to see what this Loud team can do tomorrow as well.
I am quite honestly terrified. They have started to look like a squad that we've seen in the past and continuously stepping up the game. Now, unfortunately, for the side of Fluxu W7M, this does mean that their placement is pretty much locked into that 7th and 8th place standing. They have unfortunately now sat at 1 in 5, I believe, if I'm counting correctly. It is just a definitively rough spot for them. And once again, it feels like they are drafting appropriately. It feels like they are getting these moments, and yet it is just difficult for them to find their footing in these matches.
Yeah, it's difficult for them, especially because I feel like they are still looking to find what they want to try and play for. So, because it feels like their drafts a lot of the time are all over the place on what their objective is. If it's a play for your carry top lane, if it's play for your carry on the bot lane, if it's play for something more aggressive or more controlled in the mid lane, like they need to find a much straightforward style of play to go for. And that's something that I wanted to touch when you were mentioning it at the start as well with their drafts. Like they play pretty straightforward drafts, nothing way out of the ordinary. But I feel like for a team that has not found their identity yet, being experimental is fine with picks. Like you can be experimental with picks because you haven't found your style yet. So you can be a little bit more creative in general. But when you're trying to be just a complete meta slave, to put it like that, quote unquote, and you have no style even with that, then it just kind of feels counterproductive because you're not finding anything that you're good at that point. So I feel like that's something that Flux needs to work on. They still will have time, but it's difficult to see that sort of evolution if they themselves haven't find that route to go for. Where as Loud, I feel like they have a much more straightforward way of going forward, and improvement comes with each step that they've been going forward with, and I think they are doing a really good job at that.
Of course, and with that, we will see if they can find their footing in and after the placement matches, as again the end of the Super Week will bring us to the second part of this split 2, which will be very interesting to watch for. We have a few more games here today though for your viewing pleasure, as we have IE versus Red Cannons, and then of course Furia versus VKS. 2 matches that will have interesting
Consequences?
pieces? Yeah, consequences, I think is the right term. Yes, 100%. Interesting consequences for all of the teams involved. Now, of course, it won't be us here on the desk. Myself and TDS will be leaving, but of course, you'll be joined by the most amazing FourY4 as well as RandomMinionCaster. So don't go anywhere. The LTA South will be right back.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. My name is FourY4. That is RMC, taking you through the last 2 games, not of the weekend. Remember, we are here same time, same place tomorrow, Monday, end off the Super Week. That will be, I won't be there, but other lovely people will be there to take you through the games. Yeah, whenever, wherever, and wherever you're tuning in, we're happy you're here. We got 2 games ahead of us, IE versus Red, and then FourY4 versus K. That one should be very interesting. But this one, RMC, just off vibes. Don't take analysis, don't take lineups, don't take gameplay, none of that.
Okay.
On vibes, I think Red lose this game. Because
you know what?
This is the script, right? Red, like they're just kind of middle of the pack, and at this point in the season, they start. Rose agrees. Yes.
There we go. That's the script.
This is the game that Red lose, and everyone starts to kind of flip out a little bit, especially with right. I mean, look, Doom and Mago. They've been solid. They've been okay, right? But you've seen the growing pains. You've seen the team look a little detached. We'll get that lineup on the screen for you. Red Canids. They went through a couple roster changes between Split 1 and Split 2. RMC, again, and IE, yesterday, they looked better. Now, the bar was on the floor, but they did look better.
True. Fair enough. And there we go. We've got the Red roster up there. Yesterday, I actually got confused when I saw Mago in a black jersey, because they are red after all.
Yeah.
Yeah, turns out, no, the new red jersey is actually black. So Mago's the only one in this picture who's actually wearing the right jersey. Everybody else was wearing
good stuff.
The old red jersey. That said, today they are in their red jersey. So I don't know what's going on with the color scheme here, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Mago, look, he's played kind of a couple different styles of champion, right? They brought in him and Doom to give everybody a little bit different flavor. Rather, actually, Doom was brought in because Aegis was sick one time and Doom popped off in a scrim, and that's why we're here. But I can't, RMC, the thing is, right, they sit here at 3-2 right now, and I can't honestly sit here and tell you that with Aegis and Grevstar, they would have a better record. They might, but they might not.
Sure, and that's always a tough call with Aegis and Greftar, right? And with Doom and Mago as well. The difference in style that we're seeing, I think, is a bit of an issue. I agree that Mago has played well on the Talia, but I'd much rather see him on things like the Silas that he did play, and the Akali, right? Things that where he can kind of show his stuff. He is a mechanical hands kind of guy. I want to see more of that. For now, though, Yone fits that to a T, and they do have the Yone pickup. Last time was FNB playing it, but really, put it in the mid lane. It's such a safer lane for Yone to skill up in.
Yeah, no, I think, and FNB, look, God love them. We are the biggest fans of FNB on this co-stream, but I do want to see, if you're going to give it to someone, give it to Mago, right? I think FNB can play a couple different styles of champion, right? Mago, for now, I think I'm with you, RMC. I want to see him on something that is a little more carry-oriented. On the other side, I was going to say, an Aegis special, paying tribute to him, is Jose Deodo. So very nice of him. But Summit going to be piloting again. Summit, new roster addition for Asurus Estral. This split has yet to win a game. He has not won a game in south of the equator since 2024, which is a tough look for Summit. But anyway, a bit of an exaggerated stat. But anyway, Jose Deodo going to be on a carry jungler. And RMC, I love this. I want, it's not the meta right now, but it is something that you can option into. And Asurus Estral right now, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Guess what? It is very, very broken. Please, someone try to fix it.
Fair enough, and you know what? I think it might not be meta, the Lilia pick necessarily, but it should be. I mean, Tatu and Carioca are displaying it to wonderful effect. Like you said, Jose Deodo on a carry, that's a winning formula. For Red, though, it is going to be Yone mid, as we see the Camille being picked as an answer to Mbessa. We've seen this matchup multiple times now. Camille just seems to outskill her. The lockdown just seems to absolutely mess her up. And I do like it as well into the likes of this Lilia. Lilia, a very mobile champion who wants to get around the fight, spread that sleepiness, the sleepy, not triple bubble, but the passive onto everybody. And if you kind of lock her down, put her in an enclosure.
It's called Dream Dust.
That sounds about right.
Anyway,
I mean, there's those people, it puts them to sleep, but it does a lot of damage over time. And if you can lock her up in an enclosure, it's so much easier to shut her down. Now, for both these teams, they are still looking for their supports, i.e. looking for support, and their mid laner, Red looking for their bot lane as a whole. We're seeing the Kai'Sa already taken away from Bruntsea, and now with the Ashe, very different style champions, and I think it speaks to how wide Bruntsea's champions pool and style is.
No, Bruntsea can play a number of different champions, right? I mean, he has been, I think, a little more, he started off the split kind of slow for me, but he has been a little more consistent. I don't think we've seen, like, those really high Bruntsea pop-off moments that he kind of made his name on a couple years ago. So to me, he has more left in the tank. But again, look, sometimes just because you can do that, depending on the style of your team, you don't need to do that. Now, the Zeri, this I did not see coming. But again, RMC, talking about kind of pushing the meta off to the side a little bit and going with, you know, kind of what matches the player. Bruntsea Zeri, man, this thing terrorize the CBLOL for a year.
Yeah, and if you want to see Brunsey take off and be a hard carry, this is a champion to do it, right? It's kind of like that Ezreal, a lot of mobility, a lot of self-agency, a lot of range. It does more damage in team fights than the Ezreal does, and it does feel like a champion that Brunsey has relied on in the past when he kind of goes, okay guys, get in my backpack, I'm picking this area, let's go.
Exactly.
So I love the pickup here. Corki being picked up for IE as their mid laner, potentially. Yeah, most likely their mid laner.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a bold choice into the Zeri. You out-trade her, if you can even reach her.
Yes, no, exactly, and that's always the issue with Corki, right? Again, if you have kind of, that's why he is so nice in kind of in the mid lane. That's why I don't like him as much in the AD carry roles, because I think you really limit your range, right? But thankfully, you've got Varus, who is the king of range. He can dump on you from, half a screen away, right, with a big old Q, hit the Chains of Corruption, that can spread a number of other targets. Rakan is going to be the pick here for Frosty, and again, a little bit off meta, but Frosty on this champion, he has had some of his best games in Brazil on this champion, and I was surprised to see Rakan Nautilus a couple games ago. I feel like those are two champions we just really haven't seen in 2025.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why Rakan necessarily fell out of favor. Sure, he's not as tanky as the Nautilus, the Leonas, the Alistairs early on in the game, but later on he gets really tanky, and his mobility is unmatched in terms of being able to engage and get out to safety. It's absolutely insane, and I think that's why Frosty has always excelled on this champion. Frosty being a player who originally got picked up back in the Titan days by Red as a replacement to Curry, actually, of all people. And we know Curry was picked up by Titan, not just on Red, but now even on Pain, because he's incredible in terms of his engage sense and his mechanics. Frosty was supposed to be that mechanical genius as well, and that's why I like him on Rakan. It allows him to flex those hands, and up against this IE roster as well. Yeah, it can go in, and it can, more importantly, peel back if Brunsey needs a little bit more peel. He can go in and out while the rest of the team wants to go in, do that damage with the Camille, with the Yone.
On the other side for this Asurus Estral comp, RMC, how we feeling? I mean, Jose Deodo's on a carry jungler, and I think if nothing else, right, like I said, in terms of variety, in terms of changing things up, you've dealt yourself a better hand than you would have, instead of just playing kind of, playing just straight up front to back, putting Jose on the Maokai or some. I don't know, it was banned, but you get my point.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how do you feel about the rest of the lanes, right? Miro on the Corki, the Ambessa. We haven't really seen her as much in Split 2. She was a staple in Split 1, but not as much in Split 2.
It just feels like there's too many champions now that outscale Ambessa, and her early game is a little bit weak, so she can't really abuse on that either. So with the Gwen priority, with the Rumble priority, with Yone being a potential flex, and with Camille being sort of a solid answer that often doesn't get banned out, it just doesn't feel like she's quite as strong. And I'm looking at IE, and I feel like that's in a nutshell their top lane. Kind of how I feel about this entire composition. It's strong individual picks, it's good picks, but it doesn't feel like they're necessarily best in role anymore. I'd argue the Varus is perhaps best in role. The Lilia could be huge for Jose Deodo, but it does feel like they're lacking a little bit of engage to come through. You're going to rely a lot on Jose Deodo being able to land that lilting lullaby, or Snaker with the ultimate. If Ackerman is the one diving in against that much damage on the other side, even with the Unbreakable Will running, I fear that his engage is a one-way trip.
Yes, I agree, and I think that's another way we kind of like to characterize compositions, right? Do they like to go forward? Do they like to go backwards? I'll tell you what, Red Cadet's composition, they go forward. It is all gas, no brakes. Try to isolate a target, 100 to 0 them down, and good luck catching Brunsey if you can. Taking the Flash Cleanse into this lane, I like that. Yes, you can't cleanse a knockup, but there is a good amount of CC, and I think the Dream does, right? The Lilting Lullaby, you can cleanse that. I am curious as to whether Snaker and Ackerman actually saw Brunsey and Frosty, because they dropped that ward in the mid brush there. I'm assuming that they did, unless Brunsey and Frosty got down there in a hurry. I didn't actually see that, but anyway, Jose Deodo going to start on the Raptors, as is tradition, on the Lilia, and of course Red taking that preemptive ward there.
Okay, FourY4, you asked me earlier, no thoughts hit empty, just on vibes, who I think is going to win this game. Right at the beginning of Game 3, in the pregame. I gotta say, first of all, blessed Easter, y'all who celebrate it. From what I understand, Easter is the Resurrection Day, and one team is 0-5. They're in dire need of resuscitation. So I'm just saying, if there was ever a day for IE to pick up the first win, surely it's today, yeah?
You may RMC may or may not also have said in the chat, it feels like Good Friday, the way the first two losers got crucified. But again, maybe he didn't say that. Maybe I'm just making stuff up. Who knows?
I will neither confirm nor deny any of these allegations.
Yeah, me having to hop on the stream, because usually, okay, it's I'm on Pacific time, as is RMC, and I was like, okay, the first game went quick, it probably won't be 11 o'clock that I hop in, maybe 10:45. It's 10:45 right now, right? I was putting in my contacts. I was getting dressed. I was mid-shower when that game wrapped up. So here we are. And hey, God bless Rolling Starts. Means I'm out of here a little bit earlier as well. I'm having Easter dinner with my family, which I'm looking forward to. Anyway, Miru versus Mago in this mid lane. Miru also someone who, I mean, like, Cody, he kind of showed his chops in that last game, right? Where we were reminded a little bit, even though it was a stomp, right? He got that solo kill. Miru, again, I think that's what's been, for me, the most kind of disconcerting about IE, is that the individual players, I mean, yes, okay, top lane, maybe you've had to have a swap, right? Bertol didn't have a good split one regardless, right? But apart from Jose Deodo not really being played to his strengths, Miru, I feel like, has been, I mean, he's been a shadow of who he was in split one. Hold up, flash pulverized there. Ackerman gets around Frosty and dunks him immediately onto Snaker. He gets some CC down, but the Ignite goes down onto the Rakan. Lethal Tempo proc, Brunsey able to get some decent damage down, but the exhaust went down. No, there was no exhaust, excuse me, I'm tripping. Lens popped, dumping damage into Snaker here. He's pumping out a lot of healing with those biscuits. And that will be all she wrote. Doom waiting up there. If they can get that big old hook shot, never mind. Summit flashed away immediately, but had some help from Jose Deodo. Maybe they look for something else here. Dropping down a ward in the Pixel Brush defensively here. Doom backing up the Permafrost. FNB low on mana. But if he has enough for one Q, maybe one hook shot, that might be enough. This is like a middle school dance. Somebody do something. Get close. Summit able to get the stun down. But again, no follow-up. FNB low on mana. He doesn't have enough for a hook shot. He's got to get out the old-fashioned way. He has the flash should things really go sideways. But that will be all she wrote. Frosty on the edge of the W. Gets knocked up. Flashing forward is Brunsey. The barrier. The flash. It's enough. Summoners traded all the way on both sides. And no one dies. RMC. What are we doing here? The action, the APM is crazy, but no blood.
Yeah, this is far more active than in high school dance that I used to attend. The other action, yes. Mago is being threatened with death in the mid lane as well as Miru is just dumping out the damage. And this is what we want to see from both these teams, right? As much as IE has struggled, Brunsey taking more turret shots to the back. We'll be fine, we'll be safe. As much as IE has been struggling, recently they have been getting more hands-on. And we talked about the fact that it's weird when we look at this team with Jose Deodo, with Miru, with formerly Bertol, now Summit. They feel like they need a hero. But they have all the hero names. And recently, in this week and last week a little bit, we started seeing these heroes step up a little bit. Now, they're not terribly coordinated just yet, but they're getting there. And they're willing to throw hands. And we look at Red, who is the quintessential Brazilian team. You know, when we joke about all hands, no brains, oftentimes we joke about Red. But Red is always willing to scrap. And this game already is giving us more action in the early game. This is what we want to see. We love to see. It does, however, mean that everything could just break all hell loose at any given moment, and there might not be setup. So we definitely have to keep a close eye on that, and the teams are very momentum based. The teams want to get an early lead because that's how they play best.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail right on the head there, right? With Asurus, the way that they lost was disconcerting, yes, because of some individual performances, but they just looked so passive. It was just so limp. They let the game happen to them, and if you want to write off week one because of the Bertol of it all, fine.
Yep.
But even with Summit in week two, it wasn't much better. And again, we've seen more life out of Asurus, and we're seeing it from both sides here early on. Gold lead, negligible at this point. 10 CS lead here for Miru into that range versus melee matchup. You would expect that, but combat power hasn't come through yet. A couple of tiers coming through on the side of IE. Lane swap initiated here. Brunsey and Frosty get up to Summit. Not responded immediately here. I just don't think that Asurus knew that was going to happen, but you have to at least have that in your back pocket. Because we have seen that, right? Not the 2v1 lane swap, but the 2v2 lane swap. The Grub's still very high priority. Of course, changes coming in the next patch, I believe, RMC, right? Where it's just going to be one spawn of Grubs and a little bit later.
Yeah, they're changing the timing of the Grubs. Actually, yeah, I think it's next patch. I know they definitely discussed it because they don't really like this sort of trading that's happening here. And for Isra Seshal, I don't know if it's so much that they weren't aware it was coming, so much as they don't care that it's coming. Fair. Yeah, because in terms of objective trades, right, we're seeing Jose Deodo salt the dragon, and Lily is really good at taking these objectives as long as she has mana to do it. And I think it actually benefits Summit a little bit to be away from FNB. The Camille matchup is not a comfortable one for Mbessa, not even from the get-go. Both of them need time to skill.
Wow!
Mago!
Oh,
wait,
my
hold up.
goodness! Well, that took me completely by surprise.
Yes, flush!
That was rough, dude. Oh my goodness. Mago giveth and taketh away, I'll tell you what, and take a thing away, the blue buff as well as Jose Deodo. RMC, I mean, I didn't even pay no mind to that because I was like, well, he could just run back. He could flash. He could ult out of the way for crying out loud. That was rough, dude. That's going to be on, oh my god. Someone's going to have a lot of real good time with that. Oh, geez.
Yeah, I was just confused. I mean, I saw it happen on my screen, and I was just thinking in my head, nothing's gonna happen. They're not gonna die. They're fine, right? Look at how much health he has and how long he takes it. That's 2 missiles, a phosphorus bomb, and a third one. And I think Mago didn't expect to die to a big one right there. He was just like, oh, I'm fine. I can take another 2 more missiles to my back, right? But he's at 1/3 health, and he just took it the entire time. That's brutal to see. You're talking about Miru not performing just yet, FourY4? Well, how about this? How about a 20 CS lead plus first blood solo?
Yeah, no, it's almost 1,000 gold lead, right? This is, oh man, this is a toughie. Well, okay, look, now the attention, right, is shifted elsewhere. This mid jungle for Sir Ancestral, looking pretty strong right now. You've got a good little lead. You can do mixed damage and shrew damage from both sides. FNB going for the solo bolo here onto summon, pops down the Hextech ultimatum. Do able to get close enough to where he starts stacking the permafrost. 1, 2, 3. That might be enough. There goes the public execution, able to get out of the way, but the glacial prison. Nice job holding on to that by Doom, saving it for the kill shot. Meanwhile, level 6, Frosty and Brunsey, they're going to make it Ackerman and Snaker's problem. Gets the tip there on the charm, but the barrier popped just in case. Snaker's still holding on to Flash. That's all she wrote.
Only a cleanse expended from Red's bot lane, so I can be happy with that. I'm a lot more scared now in the mid lane when I'm seeing
Mago,
those
you
lines
learned
right
your
now,
lesson,
Mago.
please!
He's dodging, he's ducking, he's weaving, he's going in.
I'm so nervous, I don't like it. Okay.
Surely that shouldn't happen. Okay, let's go back to what kicked all this action off. In the top side, Summit, FNB, the gank from Doom. I do want to highlight, I think Summit played that pretty much as well as he could. Flash was just coming up. Unfortunately, it wasn't up in time, so really well timed from Doom, but being able to sidestep was huge. But it's action just kicking off in all the lanes, and it's not about the junglers either. Throughout all that happening, Jose Deodo was just farming in the jungle. Like, he wasn't trying to help out all the lanes, he wasn't doing anything there. It's just the lanes kicking off action because they know they're strong and they're willing to pull the trigger. Even the bot side fight, Brunsey and Frosty end up winning it, but it's actually Snaker and Ackerman who initiated that fight. And now that they got the cleanse out of Brunsey, I expect to see Snaker and Ackerman continue playing aggressively if they can find the 2v2. It's going to be in the mid lane now, with the Chains of Corruption up and available and no cleanse for Brunsey.
Well, exactly. You've got level 6, right? And I mean, especially early on, that flat DR from the Alistar, I mean, it is just brutal to deal with. When you're not even on a completed item, if you're Brunsey, right? You can CC this cow all you want. He just gets near you, and it's like Robo on the Jacks, right? Like, just you have to respect it so much. But outside of that, you're just some skirt steak, brother. They're gonna have to pick their spots here really, really well. But right now, right? Talk about picking your spots. Right now, it might not be a bad time because again, there's a 20 CS lead for Brunsey. Frosty up a little bit of gold as well. Once that first item comes in for Brunsey, right? And again, you've set yourself behind just a little bit with that tier as well. So I think this is as good of a window as you're going to get until the late game if you wanted to make something happen. I'm not saying necessarily a good idea.
It's red. Of course they're going to try and make something happen. Whether or not it's a good idea, it's a different question. For now, I do want to highlight, though, that the gold has largely equalized for the most part. The biggest difference is really just in that sort of mid-lane matchup now in the bot lane, Miru and Mago. And a lot of that is from First Blood. The CS differentials are being evened out by the bot lane. Frosty playing very aggressively here, just trying to get vision down, trying to make sure that they can see if there's any potential ganks, so they know where Jose Deodo is. And Frosty doesn't care. He's mobile enough. We talked about the mobility of Rakan. We've been seeing it, and they're looking for the dive.
Wait! Doom with the QR true combo gets in and gets another kill. He'll take credit for that one, and fair enough. He did all the work.
Did he?
As soon as I said that, I was like, that's just not true. He finished it off. There was no way to hand that one over to Mago. I think that's maybe what I meant to convey, that it wouldn't have been a good idea if he dropped the CC down and just waited for Mago to get in range. That is a risk that is not worth.
Tell you what, you know what? It's just the Rid style, right? They miss Aegis and Greftar, so that was an Aegis Greftar play right there. Yep. Where Greftar sacks everything to set it up, and Aegis just walks it and takes it. Doom picking it up on the Sejuani honestly doesn't feel very good. I think he already had the gold for Heartsteel, so he didn't really need necessarily the kill. We'll see if it benefits him, if he can get that stacking. We've been noticing that Heartsteel, unfortunately, recently, at least in the current patch, has not been stacking very, very fast. So if you're not able to stack it, that's the whole argument about, what is it, three Giants belts into Warmogs being the potential better build. I know Trajan was talking about it, or Trajan Rev was talking about it yesterday.
League Twitter drama. Just an aside, real quick. League Twitter drama is the funniest thing on planet Earth, and so much more so when people lose their minds over stuff like this. Look, I love and respect what people like this do for the community because they have distilled this game down to a science, and you need the hardos, right? You need the hardos to breathe life into this, right, and make sure that the super engaged players are into it. But it is so funny the way that it was like LS getting into it with like an EU
Think card.
West time Kench, like, yeah, and Think card, like, what are we? It's, oh my god, it's something special, man. This game, this community, it is unlike any other. That I will tell you for sure. Yeah, thought someone was going to go for the all in there. Both these top laners on their first item spikes. But that Heartsteel, love it or hate it.
Mago is coming in.
Good first buy on Sejuani. There comes Frosty with the speed of 1,000 rocket ships. Hang on, Mago has a little bit of healing here, but Miro very nicely done. And the feet go over to Red. That's not because of the Briar buffs incoming, ladies and gentlemen.
Are there actually Briar buffs coming?
I think so. I thought I saw that on like the little graphic, like the little preview thing. I could be talking some noise. Maybe it's maybe there's a Freudian slip. Maybe I'm trying to manifest.
You know what? That's perfectly fine. We don't judge here. That said, who does judge is Mago on the top side. Great vamp step to barely keep him alive. Getting that solo kill, that is a precursor of that particular matchup flipping. Range versus melee, Corki gets to abuse it early on, but once Yone picks up his first item, Blip the Rune King, it starts going heavily his way in terms of being able to set up. Frosty has been omnipresent on the map as well, and you'll love to see it. He was just top side. Look where he is right now. Bot side, looking at that dragon. It's too late, probably. Actually, maybe not. Jose Deodo's really slow on this take, surprisingly.
I was going to say, yeah, the damage just isn't quite there yet. Doom going immediately in, trying to stack that permafrost. Jose Deodo has to back up. He has the lilting lullaby. Should he want to pop it? Not sure he has enough targets to have Dream Dust on it to be comfortable. FNB going in with the Hextech ultimatum, trying to shut Summit down. He has to flash away now. And now maybe they've got enough resources here. The cavalry has arrived. Mago has the Blade of the Ruined King. FNB has to back away. Doom, that percent ticking health there that Jose Deodo is popping is too much. The shutdown comes in. Somehow, and with a cleanup, 3 kills for his team. RMC, that was the best fight we have seen out of Azorius Astral in months.
Happy Easter! That was a 4v5 4x4 the entire time. Miri was just sitting in this top lane, didn't have teleport. Red was overconfident because of that. I.e., they're not going to pick up the dragon right now, but they do get themselves first brick on that top side instead, which gets them that feats. And we get to see how this fight starts up, and Rid gets the faster collapse. From the very start, they had a numbers advantage, but look who goes down first. For the side of IE, they focus down Brunsey immediately. The moment the losing lullaby starts to come down, they instantly pull up the CC. Yeah. Everything gets dumped on the AD carry. Whereas you look at Red, who are they focusing? They're looking for Summit, who's a bruiser, who's mobile, who wasn't locked down by the Hextech ultimatum, who bought so much time. And meanwhile, Snaker isn't touched at all. He is full health throughout this entire fight, getting to free fire. We talk a lot about Snaker being a utility AD carry, things like Ashe, like Jhin. That's what he looks best on. But he's still an AD carry player at heart. If you ignore him, he will pump out damage. And if you ignore a Varus in the early game, that's asking to get cut down.
When he's just schmanging lethality, just stacked it with no regard for anything, right? That is your early game win condition, right? Let the Lilia and Summit, I mean, Summit a little less so, right? Like you said, Mbessa, she kind of peaks right about now, right? And her mobility is just deadly to deal with. But once Jose Deodo and Miru, right, if you get them to the late game, these two should be able to carry. But Jose, man, the way he played that fight too, right? I mean, just the mobility of the Lilia, right? She's so gosh darn fast, able to just zip in and out of the fight, get the Dream Dust down, and the value you got out of the Leandries. Finally, they get that tower. Meanwhile, FNB on the top side of the map, able to take down that tower. Just a really, really nicely played fight from IE all the way around. And RMC, now we've got an interesting ball game here.
Yeah, now the gold's pretty much dead even. Red answering back on that top tower, trying to replicate the play that IE just made. But IE get the dragon, and the first 2 dragons, actually, which kind of doesn't show in the gold, because dragon doesn't give you that much gold, but those are permanent buffs. They are advantage you can try and play around. Miryu being hunted right now, but there's no damage threat. Mago is so far up the lane right now because there's a turret that he can't follow up. And Frosty and Doom, tons of CC, no damage.
Nope, not just yet. Or maybe ever, I suppose, but we'll see. Yeah. Herald going to be spotted up here by Jose Deodo. Yeah, he's been, I mean, when Jose's on, he is such a treat to watch, man. Because, I mean, he does all the little things right? And you can tell, I feel like jungle can be a bit of a thankless position, right? A bit like support in that sense, but roll with me here. It's not a perfect metaphor, but like, as tower's taken, kind of on opposite sides of FNB, anyway, going to try to push that wave out. But like, if your jungler's not doing anything, you notice it. You notice it a lot. But if your jungler's doing all the little things right like this, sometimes it can go underappreciated. Ackerman has to, he's got the Alistar ultimate there. Now he's finally going to pop it. Frosty trying to go in, but stop there. He's not unstoppable. He's just on the charm here. FNB able to pop down the Hextech ultimatum and snipe down Miru. Mago going in from a screen away. Dream Dust goes down. Lilting Lullaby pop there. Big ol' damage onto FNB. That is a ton to take there. Now Summon has shown up. Will he be able to clean this up? Got a little bit of damage enough to deal with Doom, but can't get onto Brunsey, or at least he doesn't feel comfortable enough to. Jose Dioto out of mana, out of CC this team, so not able to lock down that pesky Zeri. 2 kills traded both ways.
And once again, Red, they're the ones looking for the action. They thought they got the collapse, but I don't know if you caught the interview from Seos yesterday in LTA North. He said that's why you pick Alistar. The level 6 Unbreakable is just so incredibly strong.
Yeah, man.
It's effectively free stats, and they buy so much time that despite the fact Red initiate the fight, despite the fact Red actually facilitate the catch, it's IE walking away with the advantage, finding the mid lane outer turret for free! Shelly is still in pocket. They can use Shelly later on to crack another turret, whether they want to go for the mid inner or maybe drop it bot lane, try and get 2 turrets there. It was an absolutely free turret for IE, and the gold lead slightly growing in their favor.
On the Seo's interview point, I actually didn't watch that interview, but I heard it referenced elsewhere. I also heard that his English is looking pretty dang good. Is that the case? Did you feel that? Yes,
it was. I actually did get a chance to speak to Seos back in Worlds 20... No, was it Worlds? Or Worlds 2024? No, 2023? When he was in Korea. And yeah, I got a signature, and he speaks actually pretty good English. So, yeah, and in the interview as well, really, really good at English. Slightly accented, but perfectly understandable.
Yeah, like me speaking Portuguese. I've got an accent, but you can understand what I'm saying.
A lot better than me trying to speak Portuguese, that's for sure.
IE with a 1,500 gold lead. And right now, RMC, I mean, it feels like Snaker has definitely done his job in the early game. You kind of highlighted that, right? Brunsey has yet to kind of really burst onto the scene here, but he's got his 2 core items right now, right? That Runons and that Static Shiv. I guess is it a 3-item spike? Because it feels like you see these 2 items kind of no matter what.
Yeah, the funny thing about Zeri is, in a way, her laning doesn't even really rely that much on the item spike. It's a lot more about just her zone control and how much space she can create. She's more consistent damage, so if you're up against something like a Varus who has burst damage, the moment the burst damage goes down, she starts winning that. In team fights, the Runons is really where she starts to kick off, and then she starts pumping out a ton of AoE damage. So effectively, add 2 items, Brunsey can start doing work. But you're not going to see Brunsey be the overwhelming sort of team fight carrier just yet. It's more of a, if we ignore him, he will rip through our team. That's it. In the last fight, we did see Brunsey already zone out the fight. That fight actually should have gone IE's way a lot harder. It ended up being, I believe it was 2 for 2, because Brunsey was there zoning out. So watch for him to be the big carry for Red right now. There's a lot of damage threats, but I feel like as long as Brunsey's alive, there's a chance that they could win that fight. And it's going to be hard for IE to kind of chase in, especially if Jose Dioto already used the Lilting Lullaby. Then you really don't have that many options to lock down this mobile carry.
Bingo, and I think you transitioned me beautifully as to what I was going to ask, right? Because everybody else, right? You've got some mobile champions, right? You got the hook shot, you've got Rakan, you've got, Yone is he can clear space in a very short amount of time, but they have to get up and close, right? Frosty going in here actually gets nobody here. Ackerman. Very disjointed, engaged, able to get back, but the follow up was not there. The Glacial Prison was not good enough. Public Execution goes out, not able to catch Mago. They wanted that. Lilting Lullaby still in pocket, but that was a rough one from Frosty.
And Unbreakable being available for Ackerman as well does put the fight in their favor should it kick out. That was really sexy from Ackerman as well. He heard Rakan likes to move, and he moved Rakan, the hit butt, further into the team to stop Frosty from getting away. That's what secured the kill. Mago does have the ultimate on Yone, though. He'd have to be the primary engage. Does he feel confident about it? Nope.
Dude, Ackerman's got that flash right there. If they went back in, he was going to just yeet him. Oh, when Miru just flashed from one end of the tri-brush to the other. Can't win them all. That's okay. They got Infernal Dragon now, and in 5 minutes they will have soul points. And look, RMC, if nothing else, hey, this game is going to go a lot longer than 20 minutes, and I think that is a blessing for all of us. And I was hoping it would. Again, with these 2 teams, it was going to be an unpredictable result, right? Red obviously favored, just based on recent gameplay and the eye test, but IE trending slowly in the right direction. Red, again, just with this team, I mean, it's like it almost feels like we're like recycling just talking points, right? It feels like you could copy paste just things we say about Red just from even like 2 or 3 years ago, right after kind of the championship era, and just pop them in here, and I don't think anyone would notice.
Yeah, I mean, we just joked about Doom and Mago playing like Greftar Aegis, right? It's something about the Red organization and culture. It just feels like it molds players into a certain form, regardless of who they are, right? They have MBs playing like Red Kigo did back in the day. You know, Brunsey plays a bit like Titan used to play back in the day. Frosty is starting to get to where JoJo used to be back in the day. You know, great engaged sense starting to come through. But if we look at this split, I would argue that the numbers lie. IE are on a 5-loss streak right now. The furthest we've seen Miryu has been locked down. There's a TP coming in. Can he survive long enough?
FNB was able to, that was disrespectful. Yeah, FNB doing a great job of using his mobility and just autoing, right? Just like auto spacing sort of thing, like dodging all the shots there. Summit, not going to find the public execution there. But everybody else was, they were ready. They were in tow. And look, I mean, I give Summit a little grief for whiffing his ultimates, but that's kind of how you have to engage from long range, right? If you have that tool within you, the follow-up CC is absolutely gross from IE.
Maybe need a flash first to actually get in range. IE's starting to establish dominance a little bit too early, I think. First the flash from Miryu, now the public execution from Summit. We'll see if it comes back to bite them or not. There is a gank being called in this top side, and again, Summit already used the public execution, has flash. I don't think it'll be enough.
There should be curtains for Summit, but maybe they can get something back. The CC chain just brutal. Summit has to flash away, doing a little alcove gaming. Miru goes in, Valkyries immediately into the opposite direction. Realized his mistake. FNB doesn't have the X-Tech ultimatum, but he's got another hook shot using that max range. Dude, this guy on this champion is a treat to watch. Mago and Summit doing Mortal Kombat up on the top lane, but Brunsey with the lightning crash, able to get the kill there. But Frosty will be the sacrificial lamb. Doom heading for the hills. With 4 legs, you can move a little quicker. Just ask Lilia. Ackerman will stop the chase there. And again, illustrated back and forth. The kill score has been 5-5, 7-7, 9-9. A real back and forth game here. And again, not exactly the sexiest, cleanest gameplay, but it's been highly contested, that's for sure.
Do you find clean that sexy though, 4-4? I kind of like it sexy and dirty at times. And that's this game in a nutshell. I love it, back and forth. Though, we kind of mentioned the dragon stacking. That is still in their favor a little bit right now.
And look at that damage chart,
damage numbers, yeah. Miryu's pumping it out. Summit actually is the one who surprises me the most, though.
Well, I was going to say, right, you pay the quirky tax with the damage, right? I mean, because he can just kind of farm it a little bit, but that is ridiculous. To have all 4 members of IE above all 4 members of Red, that is wild.
Okay, and I think this goes back to a point I was trying to make earlier about how the numbers are lying, right? IE is 5-loss streak, but if you look at how they've been losing, they've been actually getting consistently better. Whereas if you look at Red, they're currently on a 2-loss streak, and if you look at how they've been playing, it's been getting sloppier a little bit, and their most recent losses have been kind of getting a little bit worse. I think back to their game yesterday, where it feels like they were winning right up to the moment they made one mistake, and then they just lost momentum and didn't know how to play, and just sat back and let the game happen to them at that point. So looking at this as well, it feels like Summit's starting to integrate the team a little bit better. He's doing the damage. He's getting back into that champion Summit form. Whereas I look at Red, and it feels like they're kind of going a bit more disparate, and they're just all trying to make their own individual plays for better or for worse. I'm not seeing the setup for Brunsey to carry. I'm not seeing FNB find these priority targets. I'm not seeing Mago get a good ultimate to set up a massive team fight.
Yeah, again, it just feels kind of, disconnected, a little disparate. It feels a little Surus Estral in the first 2 weeks, and it's a shame because you see what these individual players are capable of for Red Canids. And, right, I mean, we've been on the podcast this week, which, by the way, check it out on in our Discord channel. We've got that. The podcast is called Gringos Liberados. Look for it on YouTube and Spotify. We don't have it on Apple. Sorry. But join our Discord. Like and subscribe. All that good stuff. We are here just by the sweat off our back and because we love this region. It is wonderful. The gameplay, it is entertaining. All right? And the players care. The players want to make you care. And yeah, this is why it's the greatest region in the world. So please join us. Join the Discord. It's a good time. You learn about the lore of a lot of these players. It's a really good time. But anyway, the individual talent on this team is undeniable. If, and it's a giant if, because there is no way that this will ever happen with Red, because it just hasn't since they won a title. The day that it all clicks for all 5 of these players, Red could be absolutely, they could be lethal. They could be one of the best teams in Brazil.
Sure. And I think that's why we've been kind of hoping that it is the case. But so far it hasn't happened. And in this game, FourY4, I'm waiting for it to happen yet. They've got a great teamfight composition. They've got actually a lot of tools. But even look here, they're kind of scared to pull the trigger. Doom's already chunked. FNB?
Going in the wrong side of the woods is FNB able to buy some time with the Hextech Ultimatum. And Baron's able to get over the wall with the Lightning Crash Summit with a beautiful public execution, but it gets out of the support. How valuable is that? We're going to find out. Red scattered to the winds, i.e. playing together. Doom is out of the fight completely. FNB able to bide his time, go right back in, and grab himself some lean protein. FNB and Barnsey playing this backwards very nicely, but RMC, Summit, man, he's one of the most controversial players in recent history in the Americas.
Yep.
Wide spectrum of opinions available on this man, but he is having a great game.
He is. 3-3-3 that's not doing his work justice. In that fight, you saw as well how he's able to kind of buy so much time, so much space, and he's actually becoming a huge threat for Red. Their carries are struggling, and meanwhile, we look at how Red played out that particular fight, and it's just like, okay, everything we've been discussing for like the last couple of minutes about how they're so disparate. Well, that's that in a nutshell, right? Did you see Doom and Mago get to kind of go together? No. Did you see anybody follow up with FNB on the side? No. Frosty was the only thread really trying to tie everything together, and even that didn't really work out for them. And the price they're paying now is Infernal Soul going over the way of IE as if they needed any more damage. And look at the angles of the fight here for Red, right? Doom goes in, no backup. FNB gets caught on flank. Again, no backup. Mago right here whiffs the ultimate with no setup.
That was not great.
Yeah, and because of that, once again, it just feels like, okay, Brunsey and FNB, the other two carries now, just kind of have to play out on their own. And to a certain extent, I think FNB did a good job bodyguarding for Brunsey. But I just decided, okay, well, if we can't fight that side, we'll just go to the other side. IE fans right now rejoicing, and justifiably so, because 0-5 might break today.
It's looking good, RMC, and the gold lead is kind of betraying the momentum in this game, and again, just the team fighting. The execution has simply been better for IE. Red can get back in this. FNB is monstrous right now on 2.5 really good items right now. And the damage is just enough to get this a decently quick take there, but
okay.
Doom, he swiped it! Doom delays the inevitable for at least another couple minutes.
Doom just delayed Doom for his own team in a great way, in a fantastic way, in a very necessary way. And with that 4-4, Red actually get themselves a bit more of a gold lead as well, which is critical, because if you can't win through just team fight, better discipline and mechanics, you win through gold. And Red know how to scrap. Red is a team, we've seen them open Nexus and come back multiple games, and now with the Baron in pocket, this will also help them stall out. They have the Baron buff on the waves, and IE, yeah, they have pretty decent wave clear, but it's going to be harder and harder for them to push. They might just want to wait this one out and go for the Elder in 3.5 minutes instead.
Well, I mean, we knew it wasn't going to be pretty. It probably wasn't going to be played out in the way we expected. And a Baron steal is, yeah, that's very much in line with all that. We're going to get another look at this pretty quick Baron take, you have to say. Ackerman doing a good job of playing bodyguard, right? But just misses the headbutt pulverize there. The CC comes in a fraction of a second too late. Ackerman had the right idea. Just wasn't quite there.
Jose Diono was surprised. He's like,
that was a surprise Pikachu face if I've ever seen one.
We need to make that an emote in the channel. And props to Doom as well, because he went in solo, by the way. There was no backup. Frosty wasn't with him. Mago wasn't with him. That was just him going, okay, I'm going to throw a Hail Mary. It's a suicide mission. I go in. I do not come back out. Guys, stay alive. And he did just that. Yep. And now he's respawned. His team has bought time. You can see the idea of the push from IE now. They want to do a 4-1, but it's not very effective into a burned up team. They can't push as 4. The wave clear is not good enough. And Summit is being effective mid lane, but with the distances involved, with the minions, and with the wave desync as well, it's so much easier for Red to just kind of push in that. Mago is not there, by the way, so that's a 4-man stop on the top side, while Mago is free pushing bot lane and is now looking for a flank.
Well, exactly. I think that, and that's right. I mean, with this imbalance, right, when you have the team that is playing defense, quote unquote, are they're the ones that get the Baron, the chess of League of Legends gets very, very interesting, right? Because you really have to weigh individual champion strength, right? Lane assignments. How good of a side laner / a 1v1 duelist are they? And Mago right now, he is just pretty much unopposed right now. And FNB and company are happy to push on the other side. Jose Diodo and company, look, if you lose nothing with the Baron power play, okay, but they did lose one tower, right? It's a 2,500 gold Baron power play, starts at 1,500, so plus 1,000 positive gold value just off Red's own back. Not able to take down that inhib turret, so fair enough. But Mago, he hasn't had the best game. His team fighting has left a lot to be desired, in my opinion. But he can take down in a good 1v1. I think, could he take down Summit? Summit's level 18. He's kind of big.
Summit, I'm not sure. Miryu, 100%. And I think that's why Mago was like kind of stepping up right there, trying to see, okay, can I bait Miryu to overstep? If I can, and I have full vision on the rest of IE, I can find the engage, I can find the kill, and then it sets us up beautifully for a comeback. And Red, I think, have used the Baron buff pretty well. They've picked up a lot of CS. Doom getting caught, has to flash out to safety, but he baited out the Lilting Lullaby.
Oh, Lilting Lullaby gonna land onto Doom. That is percent health, ticking damage, ripping right through the Sejuani. Heartsteel, Warmogs, doesn't matter, man. You're gonna get shredded by this Lilia. On 2.5 items right now. Has the stopwatch. Very nicely done there from Jose Deodo. Gonna buy himself some really valuable time in some of these close team fights, which again, I give Red some credit here because I think, again, with a good fight, they absolutely can take this. It just hasn't, all the pieces haven't locked in together. If they can do that, with the lead they have right now, maybe I don't favor Red because I forgot about the Infernal Soul when I started talking, gonna be honest. But again, you have a chance. You've got true damage, you've got mobility, you've got... It is a lot of physical damage. That's kind of the only, the asterisk hanging over all of this, but this late in the game, and again, a lot of these champions can deal true damage. Zeri has a little bit of magic damage mixed into her kit. It should be a-okay. Now, RMC, with this Baron buff having worn off, it seems like IE have kind of reset it to the point where we were before, right? They've kind of pushed out all their lanes again, and now the next objective to fight over will be that Elder Dragon.
Yep, and they are already in position, looking Summit on the flank TP right now.
Doom gonna get caught again. Frosty going into the backline. Doom just getting ripped through right now. Had to use his ultimate very early. Mago into the backline, able to get onto Mira, but had to hoover himself right back and gets popped by Summit. It's the Summit show right now. Every doubter that had him pegged as washed. I don't know if he's proven him wrong, RMC, but he's certainly taken steps in the right direction. What a game, what a fight, what a flank by Summit. Gets the shutdown to be rewarded for his efforts. And they will get Elder Dragon to feast at the banquet of IE, looking for their first win of the split.
And this is exactly what called for IE. When they lost the Smite fight, when they lost the Baron, the call for IE was, okay, we are not going to be able to push out. Just play safe, stop all these sort of split pushes coming in, and wait for the Elder. And you could see IE did exactly that. As Elder was spawning, they were in position, they got the wards down, and they were grouped as 5. Where was Red? Not grouped as 5. FMB was looking for a split. Mago was looking for a split. The fight started 5v3, and it looked really good. Doom tanked up a disgusting, inordinate amount of damage. It doesn't matter. And Summit was able to clean out. Frosty trying his damnedest to buy 4 seconds. Has he bought enough time? Mago's back up. Doom's back up.
Let's see. Both Nexus Towers go down. Reminder, they respawn in 2025. Mago taking very, very low, so low, and the ultimate callback's going to get both. Brunson gets ripped through. Tries the lightning crash, and it is not enough. Another double for Summit. 7, 3, and 6. What a game by Summit. What a game for Jose Deodo and Asuras Estral. LATAM fans rejoice. Es Isurus, es Estral. My goodness. Look, sometimes the vibes are king over everything in this region. That's what we've learned over 5 years of doing this, right?
Yep. 100%. And for IE, again, I don't think it's just vibes. I think this is the payoff that we've been waiting for in the last 3 games.
They played really well, dude. They played really well.
Yeah. Like, just from start to finish, even when they lost the Baron, that was like the big moment. Felt maybe the game can swing. Even then, it still felt like IE was in control. Red had goal leads throughout this game. How many times did we mention it? How many times did we feel it? How many times did we see it happen in the Rift? Barely anything, because IE were just really, really solid. And IE fans, rightfully so, rejoice. Red fans, you're now sweating a little bit, right? Red was in 6th seed and now dropping potentially to 7th, depending on how IE plays out tomorrow, depending on how Fluxu W7M plays out tomorrow.
Little standings note. As of right now, Red Canids are 1 game above last place.
Yep.
They're 1 game above the Fluxu Isurus Estral 2-headed monstrosity, and really a 4-headed monstrosity because both those were 2 mergers. Fluxu W7M Isurus Estral, 4 orgs, 2 spots, and a combined 2 wins and 10 losses. But nevertheless, RMC, no one is getting eliminated this split. And look at that, Red 2 and 4. I said they were 3 and 2 earlier. My apologies, I boofed it. And again, no one's getting eliminated, right? It's just for positioning, right? It's you get split into 2 groups of 4. 1, 4, 5, 8 get into the same group. But right now, RMC, I don't know what's going to come out of Fluxu. They kind of got schmanged by, yeah, okay, perfect. Shout out to Rose, our producer.
Hey, thank you,
great job with updated groups of how the next part of this split will go down. We got some really spicy groups here. I think, look, Group A right now, that's kind of the least exciting, but man, Group B, that is going to be a rock fight. And RMC, even better. Next up, we've got Cade versus Furia. Both those teams 4 and 1. But, and we'll get into it a lot on the other side of the break. One of these things is not quite like the other.
Yeah, for sure. And before we do throw it a break, though, I do want to touch quickly on Red as well, because we're very excited for SSS win, rightfully so. But Red have big questions. They look so broken up, and they're. I don't like to criticize players necessarily, but there was one gaping weak point that game for them. And Mago on Yone, I'm surprised it's him, right? That's a mechanical champion. That's a champion. He's known for playing a melee physical AD champion, and Mago just could not hit an ult to save a team fight. That is very, very unusual from Red. I'm hoping it's just a one-day issue, but it's got to be putting on the back of their minds as well, right? Again, remember, Aegis and Greftar, they are still there. They are still available. They're just playing down in CD, but if you need them, you just need to shine the red light, call the red signal and call back your jungle mid laner who has brought y'all into playoffs multiple times. They're still there.
And won you 2 titles, by the way. Remember, the lore of this team was that Red Canids were 6th place team. Right after Pain won in 2021 Split 1, it's a little CBLOL lore for you guys, 2022 Split 2, or 2021 Split 2, I should say. Red Canids, 6th place team. Avenger, remember him? Was the Red Canids mid laner. They sneak into playoffs in 6th place. They swap in this kid named Greftar from their academy team. They run all the way to finals, and they win back-to-back titles. They're waiting in Circuit to Desafianchi. So that's the lesson there. Anyway, FourY4 versus VKS. We'll be right back with that one. Don't go anywhere. That one is going to be a very interesting game. Lots to talk about, lots to discuss. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody, to the LTA South English broadcast. My name is FourY4. That is RMC. We've got FourY4 versus Cade. RMC, this one should be very, very interesting. I mean, they're tied in terms of record. They're a half game behind Pain. And just to cut to the chase, I believe in FourY4. I'm not sure about Cade. But. I'm just setting the scene right there. Let's pull up that Cade roster so we can dissect them a little bit here. Because RMC, you made a comment as we were about to come on air. You said the last game was very uncharacteristic of Cade. And I agree, but this FourY4 roster right now, they look like they are flying. I mean, Gigo is playing very consistently. Again, this dude's a former MVP, a two-time champion. When he is on, he's the best top laner in the league. If he's not one, he's two. Tatu has been, running away with Rookie of the Year for me. Tuts hitting his form, and Ayu and JoJo looking very, very stable in the bot lane. What has impressed you about FourY4 so far this year?
Well, first of all, let's talk a little bit about the standings and where FourY4 is, right? Because we talk about the fact they're half a game behind Pain. Coming into today, we had a three-way tie at top between Pain, FourY4, and K-Stars, all of them 4-1. But Pain's loss is to FourY4. So FourY4 technically has already beaten one of the other top teams in that head-to-head. So obviously, FourY4, very, very good. Probably the cleanest macro team and stars in every single role. You asked me to pick out one player from them. It's hard for FourY4 because every single player here is a carry. You talk about Gigo, he's either number 1 or number 2. I feel like that's him every single game. In top lane, he's either number 1 or number 2. And a lot of it depends more on Gigo than his opponents. When he's
100%.
Popping off, Gigod is Gigod for a reason. He is potentially the best top laner upside-wise. With Robo, the two of them are the most variable. But he also throws games sometimes, and that cost him. I remember their one loss in week 1 to Leviathan was off of Gigo experimenting with gotta go fast Volibear, and that backfired horrifically. So I feel like when you're looking at this FourY4 roster, my eyes are drawn to Gigo because he's the biggest sort of indicator, weather vane. Or weather vane's probably not the right word for it, because he's the engine that drives them to success or to despair.
Yes. No, he absolutely is that. And this team might go as far as FourY4 goes, but I think Tuts has a big role to play in that as well, because we've seen the levels of the team around him kind of directly correlate with that. And again, whether it's, correlation, causation, maybe that's a separate discussion, but the correlation is absolutely there. Let's talk Cade for a second. This roster, again, another patchwork roster by CL, and they got ripped on Twitter after Split 1. It was stunning. And this is why. It's not even flame. This is the result of a passionate and engaged fan base. Remember, kids, fan is short for fanatic. Fans south of the border are insane in the best way possible, because they flipped on CL so fast, because these fans are the most passionate in the world. It's very LCK and T1, right? It's very mercurial. Often it's a vocal minority, but it drives discussion in a way that you simply don't get in other regions. But now they definitely look like they have righted the ship, at least from their Split 1 standards. Now, last game was a bit of a disaster. RMC, why should I continue to believe in Cade?
Funnily enough, the team K-Stars tripped over was the same team FourY4 tripped over. They lost to Leviathan yesterday, weirdly enough, but very different styles. And you talk about how the fans of K-Stars keep flipping. To be fair, K-Stars themselves keep flipping. We look at how they performed in 2024, right? The CL first year he's in, he tells us, okay, we're not supposed to perform that well. We're a building year for us. It's a 5-year plan. They come in first, regular season, both times. We come to 2025 Split 1 and new roster, and he goes, this year we are looking to perform. And they flopped. They struggle in Split 1. They were not coming together. Now we come to Split 2. And Kate Stars, they were performing incredibly well, like you said, but yesterday, they looked like Split 1 Kate Stars. They looked really weak, really messy, very lethargic. They weren't making plays. Desamis and Trimby were invisible on the map. I don't know what was going on there. Now, it is very uncharacteristic given everything else we've seen this split, so I don't want to see it. I don't think we'll see that today. Today, I think Kate Stars came prepared to play, and I'm expecting to see some of the highest, if not the highest levels of macro play here in LTA South.
Oh boy, someone clip that, chat. 'Cause look, Brazil giveth and Brazil taketh away. I do think it has the potential for that. To give you some credit, I do think it has the potential for that. A higher potential than most. And the hands are there for these two teams. And FourY, we've praised them as the best macro team all along. And to kind of, as draft gets underway here, Vi picked up. Is he going to be on the Ahri? I've liked his Ahri so far this year. MF makes me really nervous, but let's see what setup they get around it.
I feel like all the sins are being committed right now. I talk about the best macro teams, and we see a first pick blind Vi, which I loathe right now in LTA South. We see the blind MF into a Vi, by the way, who's one of the counters to MF, because when you're using the ultimate, you can't run, and Vi gets a free engage onto you. She will interrupt that, and I'm just looking at the amount of sins being accrued by both these teams right now. That's it. I do like the Vi Ahri combo. I do think that's what they were aiming for the side of Kate Stars, because he has been a very solid mid laner this split, somebody who can trust to facilitate plays and make things happen. And I do like the setup we're seeing for the Misfortune as well, with the Sejuani, with the Camille. One thing that I've criticized very heavily in the South is that when we get MF, sometimes we don't get setup. I want to see at least 2 pieces of setup, and Sedge is 1.5, Camille is half. We've already got 2 pieces, beautiful. And we're likely to see a support that can also facilitate the MF.
I hope so. I wouldn't be mad at seeing something like Leona, right? Where even if you don't hit your ultimate, right? If it's on the edge, it makes everything else just easier to land. Something that can go forward, right? You need that AoE CC, that lockdown with the MF. And Camille, look, like you said, talking about it in terms of the MF, it's a fantastic pick. But for Gigo specifically, man, this guy made his money on this champion when he was starting out. And he is absolutely awesome to watch in this champion. He and FNB, I really associate them with just kind of in that 2022 peak when she was at the height of her power. They were both awesome on this champion. Ash and Rakan banned away as BKS still looking for their bottom lane. Talia going to be taken away from Tuts. I think that's fair enough. Yeah, Tuts, I mean, he's a great kind of... The book on Tuts is interesting, right? Because I feel like he can play just about anything. I don't think maybe he's got as high a ceiling as some of these mid laners, but it's not far away, and he can do a little bit of everything.
Fair enough, and there you go. Silas, a brand new pick for Tuts this split. He has played it in the past before to wonderful effect. Now, I'm looking at the ultimates he's got to steal, though. And I'm going to be honest, Public Execution, Season Desist, those two don't particularly interest me. Spirit Rush is nice, I guess, for Silas, but you already have him Conduct. It feels unnecessary. So we'll see what other that get selected by Kate Stars. Kate Stars, Mortius has had a wonderful Kaisa, and I would like to see that with the Vi and the Ahri. The Ezreal feels like it's going the other way, where you want a lot of safety. You're not going to go in, and it feels more like an insurance policy on the dive that you have with the Ambessa, Ahri, and Vi already.
I think that's a good characterization. Yep, I think you nailed it. Again, not really kind of high value ultimate to steal. You could, find a true shot barrage, great, right? But it's not really maybe what kind of starts and accelerates these fights. But again, look, when you've got Camille and Sejuani, you've got enough CC, right? So that's something that you don't really need. If it is Sapupi, nope, it will not be. It will be Braum, which is fine. Ezreal, Braum, whatever. Again, this feels like kind of a safe kind of not counter dive, right? But it's a compliment to the dive and the engage that you've got here. I actually wouldn't have hated the Poppy here, right? Into a Silas, to a Camille. Would have been kind of sick. And even if they locked in Leona, right? I think the E gets stopped by that unless you don't go unstoppable on the E. Right, on the Z.
No, you don't. You bounce.
Yeah. So, nope. Ignore that as well. Doesn't look like it'll be Leona, but okay. But look, it's a lot of setup, right? The Nico, right, with the Pot Blossom. There's a lot kind of riding on this MF, and the only reason that I'm kind of okay with it because often you see you see the other side of this where it's like, okay, it is just MF, right, and everything else is set up, but you don't have another carry condition. Here you do, right, and the best kinds of MF compositions are something that the best kinds of MF compositions are the ones that force the other team to ask uncomfortable questions, or answer uncomfortable questions, I should say, right? Do you want to go for the MF? What about the Camille that's up your you-know-what, right? The Silas that's dancing all over you and healing disrespectful amounts of damage, right? Oh, by the way, don't stay clumped up because the Nico might just end your life. So I like what FourY have drafted here. They've given themselves a lot of options. Cade, on the other hand, again, I trust the players, right? But into this composition, into this team, I worry a little bit. Again, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you before. Why should I believe in Cade in this game?
Ooh, I mean, with Cade, there's a lot to believe, but the draft is also having me very, very hesitant right now. I want to go back to the Braum point you brought up, because I do think Braum and Ezreal are a good combo, but the Braum specific in this situation scares me scares me for Cade Stars a lot more than the Poppy pick. Because as you said, Poppy, great for disengage, and most importantly for me, it could break up the fight as well and potentially reset a fight, expose the misfortune to
100%.
engage. And the ultimate that Silas gets to steal. Keep his verdict. If you disengage onto a comp that wants to dive you, the worst thing that happens is, oh, well, you know, we just have to reset and we have to walk away from this fight maybe, or we have to reset up for a flank. Stealing a Braum ultimate away on that Silas means that your dive is going to go very, very far south, and it just adds the misfortune. Like you were talking about, a lot of times, okay, you pick setup, you don't have the damage. Well, Silas is going to have the damage, plus the setup, plus as the Nico pick as well, which I think is going to do wonderfully well. You don't have to be primary engaged. You pull up on the Sejuani engage as the Nico, and Nico acts as sort of disengage as well, or counter engage when we do see the likes of Cade Stars kind of try and dive into Furia. So compositionally, I'm looking at this and I think Furia have a pretty decent edge on it. Which, going back to your original question, why should you trust Cade Stars? Well, it's not the draft. It's going to have to be the players. It's going to have to be the macro and the coaching. And one thing we didn't touch on was the coaches for these teams. We talked about how Brazil has a way of upsetting a lot of expectations. Well, the coaches for these teams aren't Brazilian. On the side of Cade Stars, it's Coach CL coming in from Europe, Ost, Korea, wherever you want to say he's from. You know, he has shown, and he has a proven track record here in Brazil, especially in best of ones. He's really good at it, not always draft-wise, but the team having a game plan and knowing what they wanted to. So if you're going to trust Cade Stars, you trust them for that. Fury, on the other hand, they've got Coach Thinkard, who's brought energy with a fairly rookie roster at that time, was it 2023, to Worlds, and performed well there. So he's another sort of gringo coach, if you will, coming in and doing very well for the team. Fury at this split has been showing their stuff, right? Their drafts have been solid. Their game plans have been solid. Their macro and rotations, understanding of map and how to move, when to move, and what they should be focusing on has been spot on. So, yeah, that's why I said this should be the highest macro game we get, if not today. I mean, maybe for the entire positioning phase so far.
Very well could be. And I want to stretch, maybe there's a bit of a stretch, but I'm gonna run with it anyway as we get loaded onto the Rift here. And Gigo tries to surprise bowl. Just kidding. Okay, I'll hit it with the W. Fair enough. That NRG roster, right, that Thinkard took to Worlds and murder blasted G2, just by the way. Will,
any
like,
better than you?
It was a bunch of players, right? And like you said rookie, I don't know if I'd say rookie, but just like a lot of guys who, I mean, well, for Palafox and contracts, right? They'd been kind of yo-yoing up and down between NACL and, or, you know, Academy as it was at the time, right? And coming up, right? There's a bunch of guys who, like, you saw, like, what they could be, right? And a bunch of kind of disparate pieces. Ignar, right? Just being like, okay, this guy, we've seen flashes, but it hasn't been there consistently. And he made them more than the sum of their parts, right? Really played to everyone's strengths, got the best out of everyone, right? Contracts, I think, is the best example of that, as Gigo takes a really good trade here, a level up here on Bull. And I think this Warrior roster has some of that as well, right? JoJo's a two-time champion. Gigo's a two-time champion. Tatu is your young hotshot rookie. Tuts is a one-time champion. IU, at one point, was this treated like the second coming of Christ. But they haven't, you know, stitch it together consistently. I think Tuts and IU are the poster children for that. And so far, because there was a lot of chat also in the chat about I won't trust Furia, right? Whether it was the Super Furia roster or this one, which I understand the comparison, but those are two wildly different roster builds.
Fair enough.
But,
and to your energy point, I think you're right. They're calling them rookies was wrong. Calling them a redemption team, I think, is probably a more accurate term for it.
And that's why everyone fell in love with them.
Yeah. It felt like a plucky thing, and I feel like that's not dissimilar from the Brazil story, and that's why I think a lot of people have been favoring this sort of Furia rebuild roster. I think not even a rebuild, but like kind of the Wonder Kids, if you will, this young roster that Furia
new look Furia.
Yeah, and it's very similar to what CL did with Cade Stars last split or last year as well, which is a very, very interesting contrast and matchup between these two teams. And we look at who's competition for top. The fact that Payne's up there, it feels like almost a perfect storm, right? You've got two different sets of rebuilds coming through. One who's been in Brazil for a year, who's having a chance to kind of build that up. A brand new rebuild, and you got the oldest org in the league who doesn't really rebuild for the most part. We talk about their build.
They go from strength to strength. Holy Tatu flashed over the wall. You have to get this kill. There is no option. Gigo spending the flash as well. Oh my goodness, the stuns.
Can't get it. They can't get it.
And now Gigo's gonna die for it. Disamis and now Tatu. No! Oh, it's a disaster. All the humanity What a mess!
That's macro teams, by the way.
Oh my goodness, what did I just see with my eyes, dude?
5 minutes, and they make me eat my words.
Oh my goodness. That was... They both flashed! Tatu flashed over the wall with the sand. Jeez Louise, dude.
Remember how last game 4-4 we missed the solo kill? The fact that we didn't think Mirio was going to be able to find the kill onto Mago solo because we didn't think he was going to stick around? Yeah, this is like the opposite. The moment I saw Tatu walking up the wall, I was like, wait, I've seen this in Academy so many times. Tatu is going to go for the behind the tower dive, and he went for it. And look, the setup, the idea was good. They were just lacking ever so slightly that bit of damage. If Gigo managed to get C-spawn the tactical sweep, maybe gets one more auto off with the grasp.
Yeah. No,
they
it
get
was
the kill.
close, but...
Yeah.
Good God almighty. That was a tough look.
This is why Tatu's an exciting upcomer, though, right? Because he's not afraid to make these plays. This guy goes for high risk, high reward plays. If it worked, this lane, by the way, top lane would have been over. If Gigo gets first blood as a Camille onto Mbessa, we talked about it before. Gigo is one of the best Camille's players. He was playing it before it was cool, right? This lane is done, and Tatu gets to just gank other lanes. Now, because they lost that, it does set them behind, but it's not game ending. Tatu as a Sejuani can fall behind, and that's okay, and he didn't. Gigo as a Camille can fall behind, and while the laning's not going to feel as good, he'll still be fine later on. So if anything, it just extends the timer for Cade Stars. It just slows down Furia and their power points of what they want to do at certain times.
Well, you better hope so, man. Look, you've convinced me. I think I want to believe you, man. What you're saying made a lot of sense.
I want to believe me right now for but after watching that.
We're manifesting. 2025 is the year of manifesting. And look, it's only a 200 or 300 gold lead, right? It could be a lot worse, is the fact of the matter. But holy moly. Also, Kissy with the Faker skin. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That is and I think it's just because they have all the skins unlocked, right? But I'm surprised that even then, like, people don't use that skin more. Maybe they do, and I just don't notice. Maybe it's the first time I've noticed it. But for you, they're gonna get some grubs, walk away with a little bit of a consolation prize. Oh, I'm never gonna forget that. I think as long as I live, like I'm gonna shoot up in the middle of the night, just like in a cold sweat. My wife, babe, what's wrong? Don't worry about it. I'll tell you when you're older, when you can handle it. Oh my goodness, that was so funny, dude. Now they're going to try to pay it off here, or, well, I should say, get more out of this. Gigo is level 6, Tatu not level 6 just yet. Oh, okay, he ticked over. Now this could get interesting here, RMC. Okay. Trimby only level 4, Gigo being taken very low. He's got to find a way to survive this public execution, not even going to give him a chance. What a lethal decision there by Cade Stars.
And we talked a lot about the Vi Ari combo and how good that setup is, but Vi and Bessa can do similar things. You saw the public execution. Gigo, if you time the Hextech Ultimatum to perfection, you can dodge one skill shot. But with both of those, it's pretty much a guarantee that they'll catch you one way or the other. I love that they led with the public execution because the well, first of all, the Summons didn't have cease and desist. But yeah, if he had it, it'd be guaranteed. And Vault Breaker as well. When you jump up, you know exactly where Camille is going to land down. That play, though, was a bit of a, for Cade Stars, a bit of a risky one. Jojo was already rotating from the mid lane to cover. And if Jojo got up top, that dive gets a lot messier. They'll get the kill, undoubtedly, but they might leave some bodies behind. And because they went for that, Furia are going to be able to just rotate for the objective instead. They already rotated Ayu into the mid lane. That helped them secure 2 of the grubs. And now with the strength that they have, plus the fact that Jojo's first to move, it will get them first Drake as well.
Might not go down without a contest here. Trimby gets locked up, but able to wait it out with the Unbreakable. Morteus throwing a Hail Mary. True Shot Barrage. Furia, again, look, responding pretty nicely, all things considered. They're down a considerable amount of gold here early, right? And the feet down as well, but getting little bits where they can. Now Furia might be in some trouble here. Very nicely done. Tatu had to burn the flash, but forcing the flash out of the Sejuani, that's not nothing here. Now you've just got the Q ult, and the ult goes right there onto Trimby. He's trying to buy a little bit of time. There goes the True Shot. There, my goodness. Tut's able to get out just a little bit there. The bullet time did a lot of work. Now can they mop it up? Tatu's pretty low. Kissy, very nicely done with the Q. Morteus, if he survives this, he'll be a hero. He will not, but he does help get the kill onto Ayu just out of range of the Q. Able to get the Q down. Jojo doesn't have the Pop Blossom. But after all that, Cade gets something really nicely done there.
2 for 2. Are we sure this isn't still IE Red? These teams are really scrapping into it and willing to get into it as well. Both teams really opting for that fight. I will say, I think actually that VKS kind of walked away a bit of the winner in that particular fight. I did think Furia had the better setup. They had Ayu there. They found the initial pick and Trimby got melted. But Trimby, with the Unbreakable, actually tanked more damage than I expected. And that protected Morteus gave him a lot of space, and Kissy right here. Holy crap. The kills healing him, the Triumph procs were insane. He should have died twice over, but because of the Triumph proc, he gets to live, he gets to kind of kite back, and they actually managed to force Ayu away. Because if Kissy dies there, there's no threat from Desamis, and that means Fury would have run down Desamis as well. So literally the Triumph proc saves not just one person, but two from Cade.
5-2 is where the score stands right now. Cade come out positive in that play, up about 1,000 gold. Now Jojo and Gigo, or Jojo joining Gigo, I should say, here in that top lane. I get a little bit of priority as the next set of grubs going to spawn. Neither support at level 6, just as I say that. Jojo taking over. Got himself a Dark Seal out of boy. We love to see it.
Okay.
I do 2-0 though, not for nothing, right? I mean, things are going a little sideways for FourY4, but RMC, and tell me if I'm just not remembering here, but it does feel like we haven't had an IU hard carry game in a while.
I know his LTA fantasy points are really high.
Those are not the same thing.
Yeah, they are not, and that's why I was hesitating for a second. To be fair, I do think... I hesitate to say he hasn't had a carry game, because I do think he's been generally performing well, but he's been overshadowed by multiple members. Gigo, able to dodge out the charm, but he's still locked in there with them. Yeah, that Hex Automatum did not lock them in here with him. He just locked himself in, period.
Yep. Yeah, that door can only be opened from the inside, and that was not an issue. But yeah, no, because I agree with you. This is not to slag off IU. He's had a really good split, but it hasn't been the IU versus the World games that we've seen him have in the past. Again, not very consistently, but... And again, even as I'm saying this, the context is important to remember, right? You still have Tatu playing his absolute nose off. Gigo is playing his butt off. He's having a great split. Tuts has been really consistent this split as well, so he hasn't needed to. But here, yeah, Gigo's 0-3. He might need to.
That's fair, but Misfortune is not the champion that you put a carry AD carry on, right? That's what you do with like Zeri, to a lesser extent with Ezreal, right? That's a champion that they can really try and take over a game. Misfortune, we talk about setup in draft for her, so she's still a champion that needs to play for the team. If IU is able to carry this one, not off his bullet time, I'd be incredibly impressed. And so far, K-Stars are not giving them the opportunity to really do so. IU is the one lane that's really winning out the sort of laning situation, the 2v2 situation, but how often have we seen IU actually been able to leverage that strength? Yes, off the first grubs, his presence secured them 2 out of 3 of the grubs. The Dragon, yes, that's IU being there, gets FuRya that early rotate. But outside of that, K-Stars, Desamis and Trimby have been omnipresent on the map. They are making so much more tracks, whereas IU's static stuck in the lane.
And that goes back to something you were talking about in draft, or right before draft, right? Is when Desamis and Trimby aren't being the shepherds, right, and kind of being the puppet master of this team, it's not that they're bad necessarily, they just look a little lost, a little disjointed, right? Again, you've got some good pieces here. Even Bull, who he's another player who has been much maligned in his Tier 1 tenure, he has looked a lot... This is the best split I've seen out of Bull. Yes, he's on a better team with better coaching, but like, again, it's like, where do you separate the two? And are you going to criticize, right, and dock someone kind of points in your head for being on a better team with better coaching and a better support system, right? Like, he's looked better here and tried to, they have gotten the best out of him. 1-0-2 here in this matchup against the guy who on his day is the best top laner in the league in Gigo. Having a rough one right now, but that's Camille, baby. I mean, you still got the ultimate, right? You still got true damage on your auto attacks with the Q, so you can get back into this game very, very easily. More Dark Seals built up here. Tuts got himself the Rod of Ages. That's going to be really scary in a couple minutes here. But Cade, they've got an item advantage here, especially, again, on Bull. Keep your eye on him as they get ready to start this Dragon up. Tuts looking for a way in here. Let's see which ultimate he grabs. I wouldn't be surprised if he grabbed the Glacial Fissure in these kind of pinch points here. Going right back in. Okay, going to grab the Cease and Desist. He gets Cease and Desisted on. The CC chain is absolutely brutal. The Glacial Prison doesn't find anybody but Tuts. He's getting lit through here, but he finds a lot of time. But again, the fight just split up. Gigo nowhere near the fight, and it was a disparate, rough decision there to engage by FourY4. Cade looked completely in control.
Yeah, and you can see FuRya really questioning themselves as that entire series comes through. No, in League of Legends, skins don't buy you power, Rose. But yes, Kissy is definitely putting on a really solid World Championship performance. But I want to go back to FuRya, because FuRya on that fight looks very hesitant. Like they're questioning themselves even as they go in. The engage from Tuts and Tatu initially looks really, really solid, but Kate starts to have zero hesitation deciding which side they want to go for. And then you look at Jojo, right? He actually popped the Pop Blossom, but ran away. You look at Ayu, he's spending more of the time fighting or running than fighting, and there's no bullet time. He had an angle there, but he didn't go for it. He was just saying, okay, I don't know how many people I can catch here. I don't know if it's worth burning it on one. I don't know, and you don't do anything at the end of it. Right, and Furia, I love they showed the damage totals as well in that fight, because I suspect Furia's numbers are non-existent pretty much in that last skirmish.
See how it goes, man. 'Cause, again, it's like I'm trying to be kind of, a little more unbiased as, a caster. I don't think that's a problem of mine, but as a caster, right, you want to paint the fair picture here. MF, again, talk about an individual that has a wide spectrum of opinions available. MF, very maligned champion, and this doesn't really feel the way this game is progressing really doesn't feel like it's doing the MF truthers any favors, right? Because it's so committal, that ultimate, right? You sit down, grab yourself a popcorn and a Coke, and you put the seatbelt on, you strap yourself down to the earth, and do a bunch of damage, maybe, right? It is a lot of risk for maybe not a lot of reward. And we talk, you say, oh, before FourY4, you said that the composition's so good for it. We have not seen the team fight that is necessary for Furia to elevate Ayu and this MF ult to be what it needs to be. And I give, actually, the boatload of the credit, I think you'd agree with me, RMC, the boatload of the credit has to go to Cade.
Yeah, and how they're the ones actually starting a lot of these fights. Like that's why the entire analysis started on that post fight with how Touch just got punished immediately. Cade are not hesitating to blow everything on a single target to remove them. And it's on Furia to recognize that, hey, their comp is a single target pick comp. Once they blow everything on one target, everybody else needs to dogpile in because all their abilities are on cooldown at that point. And they also need to recognize that, hey, Cade does have a lot of mobility, yes, but that's where we need to pull the trigger, get the CC down, get Jojo in there, get Tatu in there. Heck, even get Tuts in there with a Trimby ultimate. I'm not sure if Tuts had it, but here we go. There's a pick on the Trimby. It doesn't find him.
No, the Pop Blossom doesn't find it smart. Tokyo drifting as Tatu throwing the Glacial Prism backward, and half a bullet time does pretty much nothing here. And now again, Furia find themselves separated. Gigo was on a thankless mission there. This is going really badly for Furia.
Okay, credit to Furia that time, though. They did try and pull the trigger. They did look for the proactive play. It just horrifically backfired. And this is the one where we completely praise Cade for everything they just did, right? Like, Trimby, single-handedly, blew multiple ultimates, flashes out to safety. And with that, Cade are going to be able to get this Herald, get push prio on this top side. They probably can get the entire turret. I don't know if Tatu can hold it with the risk of the Samus nearby, with Morteus being nearby as well. Yeah, if Tatu steps up, it's a 4-man dive.
Believe it or not, Ayu is 43 gold up somehow. But at this point, RMC, we got to start talking about the wallet diff, right? I mean, it's 5,000 gold, and before that fight even, right, it was at about 4,000. That's part of the calculus now as well, right? And again, you have to give credit here. Trimby walked onto the wrong side of the train tracks. This was the correct call, but Trimby played that really well. And Samus, right, they didn't even flinch, go in immediately. Morteus from the other side, right? The way that Cade collapsed. And Gigo, again, that was a bit thankless. I don't even fault him for that, right? That TP was probably committed when that initial engage went off, so it's a casualty.
Wait, FourY4, Trimby doesn't even have Merc Treads.
Damn.
Yeah,
he just got the magical footwear. He's got Crocs.
And that's terrifying because for Furia, I thought he already had the Merc Treads, and so that's why the CC duration wasn't quite right. He didn't get the perfect layering. But if he doesn't have Merc Treads yet, when he gets Merc Treads, it gets that much tougher.
No, it's Joker.
And you can tell Trimby, he's the first one in right now. He's willing to be the tank. Even if he died there, by the way, I think it's fine. I think K-Star would still have been able to roll the fight because Furia blew a lot of team fight ultimates on a single target. It's the opposite problem that K-Stars have. And that's why we saw them being so hesitant and questioning their decision-making earlier. And that's, for Furia, it's worse. The mental game is getting so tough for them right now. I want to see them make that play again, though, onto Trimby. Like, yes, it looked really bad. Yes, it didn't work out this time. But, hey, if the flash is down, Trimby, you kill Trimby, maybe you can play out the rest of the fight 5v4. If you hesitate, if you question, if you don't make plays, then you slide quietly into that good night. And that is not how we play down here in the South.
Well, and if nothing else, like, what are your alternatives, right? If you're not going for plays like that, what are you doing as Furia? And I think the answer is you're just kind of letting the game bleed out, right? You're down 5,000 gold, man. You are going to lose this game unless something changes, and those are the kinds of high-risk, high-reward plays you have to make. It's not going to look good. In fact, it might look really troll and really bad, right? It's not going to do any good for your individual stats and probably your fantasy points as well. But these are the types of plays you have to make. And fortunately for FourY4, they do have a lot of lockdown, right, and the ability to get picks. IU now joining the fight. Again, the pop loss used, but they burn the flash from Bull, and over the top, a lot of ultimates used. Public execution goes down, and a shutdown onto IU. Get a little bit of something there, but again, a lot of resources committed, RMC.
Good start. And if you're FourY4, yes, it's a lot of resources, but you did get a payoff at the end of the day. The bounty is just icing on the cake, and that's exactly what you need to do as FourY4, and you need to do it again and again. Because the scaling for FourY4 isn't bad. The big problem for FourY4 right now is how Cade have been playing. Cade are accelerating the pace of the game. They are snowballing. They are not giving you time to scale up. If they were sitting back, I wouldn't be this worried for FourY4. And you can see right away, DeSamus, right after that play, they're down a man, don't care. We keep going. We're stronger, we know it.
Oh, that's exactly what happened there. Tuts on the other side of the map. Tatu might be fed to the wolves here. Very nice. Blast cone. Get himself out of the way. It is a Chemtech Rift, so that one had a little extra chutzpah on it. Dragon going to be up in another 350, right? Cade up a little bit there. They've taken the last two dragons. Mid-tier 1 goes down, and that is now the third, of the game going to Cade. They pushed up the line of scrimmage very nicely. And again, Cade, they were a little bit on fraud watch as Shelly gets... Oh, come on, Trimby. You got to do better than that. I'm sorry.
Okay. Trimby's just reciprocating the favor. JoJo's been missing his ultimate. Trimby decides to miss Shelly. Shelly will still... Oh, she doesn't get the charge anymore. Never mind. She's just going to whack away at the turret. Doing not insignificant damage, but not quite enough to confirm. Bot side, JoJo getting chunked.
JoJo's getting ripped through here. Big old bullet time. A lot of it gets eaten by Trimby, so it doesn't get value at all, really. Tatu gonna get eaten alive. Gigo can't get in. He's just not strong enough to follow up on the other side of that wall. Cade punishing FourY4 for... Again, the idea is there, but the execution needs to be perfect when you're down this much gold.
Yeah, and meanwhile, all this is happening. Bull's topside pushing as well, completely unopposed. Tuts is looking to try and set up a gank, but I don't know if Tuts can necessarily solo out the Mbessa at this point. And FourY4, Cade are playing this really, really well. We talked about the threat for FourY4 and the reason why they need to keep looking for these catches, even if they commit a lot, is because of how fast Cade are playing. And you're seeing that right now. They are complete night and day from yesterday. Like we said, yesterday, uncharacteristic of them. Weird day, weird slip up, and they bounce back hard, as we expected. They are pushing in 21 minutes right now, and FourY4 is getting completely stifled. The pressure they're putting down is also very important, not just in terms of game speed, but it also doesn't give FourY4 time to stabilize themselves, to come back into the game. You look at the sort of items, Cade Stars are threatening 2, maybe 3 items, whereas FourY4 is like 1.5, 2 items right now.
Yeah.
And every time they come out to try and fight Cade Stars, they're going to lose the fight. That's more gold in Cade's pocket. Bull getting collapsed on, no teleport for Kissy.
No, and again, everyone is committing onto FourY4. That's not JoJo, that's someone else. Just kidding. Pop Blossom to the dome. The CC is there. Bull gets ripped through. IU, 4th kill of the game. And it feels like a shame, RMC, that FourY4 are lagging as far behind when they've dumped all the eggs into the IU basket, into the MF basket, and this is the result right now. They get little bits here, and Cade, to give them, again, to give them their due, because they were on my fraud watch list a little bit. This is the sign of a well-coached team. You talked about the speed with which they're playing. I think you made an excellent point there, right? They are just suffocating FourY4. They're not giving them opportunities to get back into this game. Now Gigo and Tuts trying to go back in here. Tatu has the Glacial Prison. You got to rip that thing, homie. Gigo almost dead. There goes the bullet time. And again, eaten completely by Trimby. The VKS support negating this completely. Are you able to get a kill there onto the Samus? Atakan helping out just a little bit, taking some damages. Trimby, but somehow he survives it. And quietly, RMC, Kissy, 6-0-2. He has had some marvelous RE games this split.
And I think he's a beneficiary of a lot of kills. And it's perfect, too, because he did actually have the Dark Seal, which stacked up really quickly. And he upgraded to the Magi. So that's doubly good
stack
for them.
Magi's, 10 stack Rod of Ages in 2025. Oh, my goodness, my brother in Christ. That is tough.
Yeah, he's eating good. And I have enjoyed his Ari. I do think it's a really good playmaker. The charms have absolutely been on point. But this play kind of wasn't on Kissy. It was actually on FourY4.
No.
They thought they could find the pick. They had Tuts and Gigo, and there's a lot of single target bursts between those two. There's a lot of bursts in general. But even in a 4v5 situation, this is where the wall depth comes through. This is where that pressure and the timing comes through. Because they're so far ahead, because they're so accelerated, they get to win out these fights. And early on, the gold difference matters more. When you're at 60k gold per team, a 5 gold deficit is maybe components of an item, right? That you've got a small 5-minute window between a completed item and not a completed item. And it's like, you're looking at, what, 4, 5 items at that point? Right now, you're looking at the difference between 1 completed item and 2 completed items. That's like a 20-30% power difference between the two teams. And K-Stars is absolutely leveraging that. Now, Furia did slow down, so there was no Atakan take from K-Stars. It's not the end of the world for Furia. But for the objectives, what now? You can't contest this dragon. It goes down way too quickly. When Baron comes up as well, that gets a lot dicier. And next time you lose a fight as Furia, you lose both objectives off the back of that. If you're a win a fight, then we get the question of, can they actually follow up and take objectives? Are they strong enough? Do they have enough bodies left on the Rift?
Let's see how quickly they can take this Atakan if they decide to do it. They don't aggro it just yet. There goes the True Shot Barrage. That'll let them know that they are not alone in the woods. There's a bit of a tangent, RMC, as we kind of restart. Okay. Have you heard of the Dark Woods? Have you heard of the Dark Forest theorem? Because in the news recently, there was an article that, it was the best sign of life, of alien life, that scientists have found, right? There's a molecule that they found on another planet that is basically, as far as we know, produced by microbes, right? And algae. Okay. So, but I heard a interesting thing, right? There's the Fermi paradox, which is, we have, there must be alien life because, like, statistically, like, there has to be. There's no way we haven't found any evidence for it. The Dark Forest theory is an interesting one. I don't think it's true, but it's very fascinating and a little spooky. It's that, there are alien life forms out there, but they have all masked their presence because there is something even greater that looms in deep space, and that we are the dumb ones for keeping on broadcasting our relationship, our existence, right, into the skies. And there are other alien life forms saying they're cooked. They don't know that the darkness, it hungers. Okay. Anyway, that's it. Yeah, the ADHD did kick in. Yeah, no.
I was waiting for you to relate it back to this game, like, K-Stars, they're strangling out Vision, Fury, they're looking at the dark forest right now.
No, I
didn't know about this, so it is interesting to me.
I mean, Cade do seem inevitable right now. Again, but they are the Dark Forest. And Furia, they keep showing their face. They keep broadcasting their signal. And all it does is give Cade 500 gold, 500 gold, 500 gold, right? Little by little, they keep popping ahead. There we go. There's tying it back in.
And that's actually very, very true. And they are now walking to the Dark Forest, looking at. They know Atakan is likely being done, but they are scared to walk in. Gigo has teleport. Does he have a ward to TP to? It's with the rest of the team. It's not going to be a flank.
Nope, they are just walking straight up here, and Kissy and Bull doing a great job of keeping their presences concealed. Extended metaphor. We love it. Jojo gonna drop the Tangle Barbs there. Morteus able to arcane shift out of trouble. Glacial Prison pop. Tatazu just try to get in there and swipe that away. Able to grab it. Very, very nicely done. Tatsu able to, again, delay the inevitable. Doom is coming for us all. Kissy able to get backwards. Gigo trying to get on him, but knows that's not a smart place to commit. And now going forward, everybody. Tut's actually doing a nice job of playing this fight backwards here. There's the bullet time. Again, Trimby soaks it all up, but Gigo goes forward. Gets the bump back there by Bull. And after all that, you grab yourself the Atakan, and okay. You didn't give over 500 gold that time. Well done.
No, it's absolutely massive. And the fact that it's Ruinous Atakan as well, it gives you a bit of an XP boost. So for Furia, when you're behind, that's going to be massive to be able to try and come back into this game and get ahead. There is still a 5k deficit, but FourY4, damn it, if we're going to go with the extended metaphor, I like our odds as humanity. If we're broadcasting and we can pull what Furia did, down 5,000k and still win a team fight, that's looking really, really good for them. Now, K-Stars, though, this is just a setback. It's a speed bump. They are still very strong, and they can do the exact same thing at Baron. The only thing they need to make sure is that they don't lose the 50-50. And technically, 50-50 means you win one, I win one, right? That's how that works. So if Furia gets Atakan, surely K-Stars get Baron, right? If it comes to 50-50.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's the interesting kind of subplot in this game, is that Cade's gold lead has gone down about 2,000 gold in the last 5 minutes, right? So Furia have found ways to, again, just get back into this one little by little. Their macro has been good. We praise their macro kind of all split. And again, it's the vision, right? Nothing is getting done, and for both sides, to be fair, both sides' vision, nothing is being done in secret right now. And it kind of feels like, to blow this game open one way or the other, aside from a big team fight, something has to be done in secret. And neither one of these teams is allowing that to happen.
Okay, if K-Stars knew that Tuts was there, I think we'd be seeing a lot more of a Baron setup. So the teams have been very active in trying to deny away the vision, try and get that secrecy you're talking about to try and set up some of these plays. Unfortunately, it doesn't pan out because K-Stars, specifically Bull, doesn't overextend in the bot lane, doesn't step out. I do want to highlight too, K-Stars have only lost 1 turret, by the way. That's an outer turret they're looking to dive, which at this stage of the game, very, very doable. And it's freestanding gold if Furia can get their hands on it. But they are struggling. And if you can't take an outer at this point, yeah, that certainly feels very rough.
Samus and Trimby waiting in the brush. Gigo has no idea. He gets jumped on.
showed.
Trimby Morteus go backwards now to Samus, isolated with everyone else. Check ultimatum drop. Bull has to get over the wall. He can pop that ultimate over the wall. Pop Blossom goes down as well. Gigo trying to get some damage down, but Bull actually taking pretty low here. Not able to get much done here. IU has been free firing, but it's just not enough. Sama's taking low. Tatu will barely survive. Kissy just barely not able to get that Q down, but this will be Chemtech Soul for Cade.
Oh, that almost tickled Tatu, and Tatu below 300 health would have dropped.
Yep.
Kate, though, despite a 1-for-1 trade, they are much healthier in their aggregate health bar, so they'll be able to pick up the Chemtech Soul for themselves. A good soul, frankly, for both of these teams right now, with how many bruisers and tanks, that both these teams have. Then its tenacity is also going to feel very, very nice, and for Kate Stars, it's just another way to extend their lead. For Furia, not the end of the world. You can give that soul over. It's not a Hextech soul necessary, so it's not immediately GG. But yeah, I do like the fact that Furia are still looking to contest, and they did manage to trade even. When you're behind, every even trade is kind of a winning trade for you. 100%. And I will blame Trimby for this a little bit. He stepped out, and that put the Samus in a bit of a rough spot, because I feel like it was a little bit preemptive, and then the Samus didn't actually have the follow-up to come through that he wanted to be able to find. Kate Stars, though, they're just so strong, they're able to force this fight, and Trimby makes up for the mistake on Samus by kind of protecting the rest of the team. Him standing up front meant that IU couldn't find a good angle to look for that bullet time, and we've discussed this on broadcast before. Unbreakable soaks the bullet time damage, so if you're squishy, you die. And though IU has been funneled gold and is 6-0-0, we're long past the point where Trimby is worried about dying to bullet time, and his basic ability effectively completely nullifies Miss Fortune's ultimate.
Yeah, no, it's got to that point. And with the locket as well, right, adding a little bit of extra padding, just in case anyone does get caught in that MF ultimate. Again, it's a lot of 100-0 potential. Dude, all of Furia's kills are on IU. I knew it was the majority, but it is literally all of them. 6-0-0 for IU. That's a tough one. Also, shout out to Snowjo. Thank you for subbing. Thank you for supporting us. Again, join the community Discord. Follow us on Twitter. We're also on Blue Sky, so you can catch us on either one of those platforms. Join our fantasy league, but our Discord really is kind of the backbone and the lifeblood of our league. So thank you guys for those of you that are there. Please join. The link is in the description of the Discord, or of the Twitch chat, I should say. And also, shout out to Not John Titer in the chat. I see you. I love your username. That is my favorite anime of all time. If you know, you know. And if you don't, find out. It'll do some good. I promise.
Are we going to go on another tangent for who this
guy
is?
I'm stopping myself. Nope, I learned my lesson. Tuts and Gigo looking for a banger angle here. Gigo, maybe he's got a date with the Raptors. He is getting deep, and I mean deep, with the flangle here. He doesn't have flash. Gonna have to pull off a Mondo hook shot, but again, they don't see Gigo. You have to know he's waiting around, though. And the Baron, again, it feels like the sledgehammer that's going to break this game open, but Cade just can't take it. Furia aren't letting them.
Yeah, they've slowed down. There's no more easy picks for them to look for. And I do think the fact that they haven't been looking for sideline push might also mean that Gigo is strong enough right now to win out against Bull or Kissy. Kate Stars have fallen back onto the Baron. It's at half health. Furia drop a control ward, and just that is enough to dissuade Kate Stars. They have no confidence after losing the last coin flip.
Charm lands onto Tatu. He's able to dash back. Jojo trying to sneak in there with a Pop Blossom. Tuts gets in there. He's got the charm. Big old Pop Blossom. There goes the bullet time that they wanted. And it does take down Trimby through the wall. Bull doesn't hit the public execution, but that's 2 more kills for IU. Tuts gonna grab himself a kill. How the heck are they doing it? It's a quadra kill for IU. 10-0-1. And Furia have tied the game up.
30 minutes into the game, 50-second death timers for Vivo Kate Stars. Furia is looking to push in and get everything they can. They're not even looking at Baron right now. They want to end the game. They've got a minion wave. They might have enough damage.
No, I think they can end, right? The wave is kind of small. You've got Tatu there. He doesn't have a ton of health, to be fair. But if you just keep IU alive, they're going to win. Furia are going to win the game. How in God's green earth did they do that? The threat of the team fight. I mean, Cade, they weren't able to pull the trigger. Tatu's fired up, as he should be. Furia, what a freaking game by Furia kids, man. They played their butts off. Wow. Unbelievable. Cade never able to pull the trigger because they knew that was a possibility. They needed the perfect team fight. Their fans are absolutely fired up. Again, they should be. What a game. And they executed perfectly. IU on the MF. Hats off, dude. You got to tip your cap. That is one that IU's got to put that in his back pocket and remember that for the rest of his playing days. Absolutely unbelievable.
I'm just in shock right now. I'm still shell shocked by how that last fight went. Right, they just found the perfect angle. Bull was still split pushing the bot side. Wasn't expecting that collapse to come through. And Tuts and Gigo, the solo laners have been struggling for pretty much the entire game. Find the perfect backline angle. Tribby has to peel back, and IU just gets the free fire. The arguably only good bullet time that IU's had all game, and it's the game-ending one. It just needs one, right? And incredibly well played from FourY4. Congrats to them as well, because with this win, FourY4, they are now at the top of the standings. They have the head-to-head against Pain.
I was going to say,
so, they just have to make sure they don't trip over tomorrow, over against Loud, who can be a team to kind of trip them up. And for K-Stars, you got to feel for them, right? Yesterday, their loss, well-deserved, right? They just lay down and took it. Right. Today, they were dominating FourY4 from start to finish. Their early game, immaculate. Their mid game, solid. Late game, yes, they got a little bit scared. They're playing a little bit, reserved, not wanting to throw the game.
There wasn't a throw. Right, they weren't able to accelerate the lead, but like again, you got to give some of that to FourY4, right? Because again, their vision was really good. There was nothing they could do in secret. There wasn't the way to kind of yoink away the Baron super fast. You got to give credit to FourY4 as well for stopping that. But there wasn't any egregious sin committed by Cade.
Yeah, and now they're super weak, which we always knew was going to be hell weak for them. They have lost 11. They have lost to FourY4. They're up against Pain tomorrow. Right? Earlier today, Pain demolished Leviathan. It was not even close. In fact, they demolished them so fast that my fantasy points are going to suffer for it because I have multiple Pain players, and there weren't enough kills to go around. So, Cade, they are in an incredibly rough spot right now to end the positioning phase, and I really hope, regardless of the outcome tomorrow for K-Stars, it doesn't carry over into the group phase, because group phase matters. Group phase has eliminations.
Yep, group phase is where teams start saying goodbye, and 1, 2, 3, Cancun. That's where you go on vacation, at least until split 3. So this is where the standings are right now, with one just minor note. I know that it's not really, it's kind of whatever. This is not Rose's fault. FourY4 and Pain should be flipped, because again, FourY4, as of now, have the tiebreaker because they beat Pain head-to-head. That was Pain's only loss, and again, FourY4's only loss to Leviathan. So just flip Pain and FourY4, and you've got the groups right now. And again, Group B just looks like an Astro banger group. That looks like such an absolute rock fight of a group. And Cade, again, I would say deserving of third place, right? Again, they've disappointed a little bit maybe in Super Week, and with their game coming up against Pain, they could drop to 4 and 3, right? And Leviathan and Loud, God, how do Loud always freaking do it? They're going to be tied with Cade at the end of the Super Week. That's such baloney.
There's a world. If Leviathan wins their match against IA tomorrow, Cade aren't even third.
Yeah,
I think
lose, right now,
Leviathan win.
I think right now, Cade are our third best team, and that I think is reflected in the standings just fine. But Wolf, that's a tough one. RMC, any final notes on either of these teams? I feel like we wrapped it up, kinda, right? And I think we did an alright job, kind of in game. But if anything you want to say before we let folks get on with their Sunday?
Well, for we've highlighted a lot of heroes from FourY4, and you asked me a question mid-game. Can I think of a single game where IU had an insane, incredible carry performance? At that time, I couldn't. I can now. FourY4, I can now.
10-0-1, game-winning quadra kill, down 4,500 gold. That is how you do it. Very nicely done. Y'all, thank you so much for being here. Whether you're watching from on the Fantasy app, right, on the LTA North pre-show, we appreciate having you here. We're going to raid the LTA North, so if that's what you wanted to watch anyway, stick around. We're gonna dump you on over there. We'll be back here tomorrow. We have Super Week wrapping up here. I'm FourY4. That is RMC for Orbital and TDS, who were casting earlier. Back here, same time, same place tomorrow. Shout out to Rose, our producer, as well. Yeah, I've been FourY4. That's been the LTA South. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.